Gold Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host. The y'all mean a revolution and the mass deportations have begun. And the Democrats are pissed. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. You know, revolution is a way of life, and revolution is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I got some revolutionary dinner y'all can use. Revolutionary classes is beginning. Let's take a look at the uproar. Democrats pissed because the deportations is happening. That new voter base, they're not going to get it. Those new citizens that they had, you know, they was going to have reign over us. That's not going to happen.
President Trump already getting results as he cracks down on illegal immigration during his first week in office. Homeland Security sources telling News Nation that Border Patrol has seen a more than 40% drop in encounters. In the final days of the Biden presidency, Border Patrol recorded 4,000 encounters with illegal immigrants, compared to just fewer than 2,400 since Inauguration Day. That news coming as the president sends 1,500 more troops to the southern border, along with the Pentagon sending aircraft, they're sending intelligence, you name it. News Nation's Robert Sherman is in Washington with the latest. And Robert, the president's showing he's really kind of walking the walk in this first week back to office.
That's what he's supposed to be doing.
And no two ways about it, Marky, with the president making good on his day one promise to declare a state of emergency along the U.S.-Mexico border. He's now using that authority that gives him the ability to deploy these troops to reestablish operational control. 1,500 additional troops will be sent to the border to join the roughly 2,200 National Guardsmen who are already there, building temporary and permanent barriers along the border with Mexico.
That's what it's supposed to be.
The doors reportedly open for as many as 10,000 soldiers to go.
Good.
The Department of Defense says they'll also be providing military aircraft to assist with deportations, with plans to fly more than 5,000 illegal immigrants already detained in San Diego and El Paso out of the country. The White House was asked about this directly. This is what they had to say.
The American people have been waiting for such a time as this, for our Department of Defense to actually take Homeland Security seriously. This is a #1 priority of the American people, and the president is already delivering.
Also worth noting, the president has signed an executive order directing DHS, the Department of Justice, and State Department to, quote, repel, repatriate, and remove illegal aliens across the southern border. The message from the White House being, don't come.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, promises made, promises kept. And the revolution must be televised. It must be televised, as I have outlined to you guys before in past videos about the largest deportation operation in American history. Okay, we're going to beat Eisenhower, right? Because it must happen. And I said a part of the largest mass deportation in American history has to be a televised visual of what happens when you come into this country illegally. Okay, we have to set examples and show anybody thinking about coming to this country that, hey, this is what's going to happen. And I already told you guys, the liberals, the media, they're going to boohoo, whine, and cry about it. But people have to see imagery of the deportations. They have to understand that you don't have the option of coming here, right? It's not enough just to say don't come. You have to show them what happens if you try to come. And see, that's the problem with the Biden-Harris administration. Biden and Kamala Harris told them during the Democrat primary, because they were having a competition to see who could be the wokest, right? They told the illegals to come to the border. And that's exactly what the illegals did. They came to the border. And then when the border got overrun, when they figured out that, oh, wait, we got more of these people than we thought we'd get, they said, oh, don't come. But yet they were still letting people in. So it was an empty message. President Trump, on the other hand, is not only saying don't come, but he's actually showing you why you shouldn't come, right? And what happens if you come. If you come to the border, you're being turned around. Sorry. Okay? The country's not open. If you're already here illegally and you commit a crime, if you're operating as a gang, you're also going back. Okay? And that's what's happening here in this video as you have this illegal immigrant who claims he's not going back to Haiti as he gets rounded up and deported from this country. This is the type of imagery that I was begging for. I said, this is what we have to see. The American people have to see it. Okay. The mass deportations have to be televised. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
Wow.
This disgusting.
This should be.
This is disgusting. This disgusting damn criminal committing all those crimes in America, doing all kind of disgusting things to our society. Anything to Obama and Biden for allowing him. He hate Trump. He hate us. Thank you, Obama. Thank you, Biden. Man committed all kind of sexual assault and aggravated robbery. Imagine him snatching your granny pocketbook, knocking your paw down, stealing his wallet, but now he thanking Obama. It's talking about he ain't going back to Haiti. Oh, yes, you is. Salute to the real Haitians. They don't cry and whine like that. Who is this faker? Who is this faker? Go back and learn how to be a real Haitian. Stand up for yourself. Fucking clown. You getting the hell up out of here right now.
In every Republican campaign ad for the next at least 10 years, right? If not forever, okay? That right there is an admission that, yeah, I'm here illegally. I'm a gang member. I'm operating in this country, and thanks to who? Biden and Obama, right? He think Biden and Obama. What does that tell you? That those are the people that are responsible for the current disaster that we have in this country when it comes to illegal immigrants and crime. Those are the people responsible. He's telling you. That's who he supports. So again, Republicans, again, this should be in every ad about the border, illegal immigration. This should be in every ad. At this rate, we're going to expand our majorities in the midterms, to be honest with you.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Thank you,
And
Obama.
this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before.
Biden.
Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you got, wow, I love this. I absolutely love this. They have to make a television show out of this, right? They need to make a reality show. They need to make a reality show out of this. But this is what I wanted to see. This is what the American people wanted to see, okay? If you notice, guys, what is the same pattern here among all of these individuals that are being rounded up for committing heinous crimes, by the way, right? And get a slap on the wrist from sanctuary cities, from Democrats, progressives. They're all single military age men. And this is why I say that single military age men should not be eligible for any type of asylum claim, right? No, you're not. If you're a military, no, you got to go back. Automatic rejection, okay? When you bring a bunch of single military age men into a country and they're here illegally, there are going to be consequences. So, ultimately, at the end of the day, these criminals, they're being rounded up. Hopefully, they're deported, okay? And I want to see more of this. And, seeing this type of imagery is not going to change my mind. It's not going to make me feel bad. Now, who knows? I probably shouldn't say this out loud because, hey, they might actually use this tactic. But the one thing that might make me change my mind, that might make me feel bad, if they start rounding up the thick Latinas, right? If they start rounding up the thick Latinas and deporting them too, that might make me change my mind. I might change my mind. I might say, I don't know. You might be going too far. But hey, if it's single military age men, you're not going to get a tear from me. I don't care what the imagery. You're not going to get a tear from me. I'm just saying. You
guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by a sanctuary jurisdiction, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back into the community, and when we went to go find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
And that is exactly what Border Czar Tom Homan has warned would happen.
When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that are in the United States illegally. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
ICE Boston says they will continue to go into sanctuary jurisdictions and do their job.
Today was a good day. Today we took several significant public safety threats out of our communities. Unfortunately, a lot were released by sanctuary policies, but we're here to tell the Commonwealth and the rest of the country that we're going to find them whether they're released or not.
And guys, shortly after we finished filming, ICE Boston told us they arrested 2 more targets in other parts of town away from our cameras. One of those targets is a previously deported Honduran illegal alien who was arrested for raping a woman while putting a gun in her mouth. The other target they got is a Haitian man who first flew into the United States in 2023 as part of President Biden's controversial migrant flights mass parole program. Well, they just picked him up yesterday because he's been arrested locally for sexual assault. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Malhusian, it was fascinating to watch all of that. I think I was just saying to Bill, this is terrible for Joe Biden and the legacy that he tried to leave behind. A question from me, how soon will they actually be leaving the country? Does that take a long time?
It depends what country they're from. If they're from cooperable countries like El Salvador, Guatemala, countries like that, it can be quick. It can be within days or weeks. If it's countries that are harder to deport, countries that don't cooperate with the U.S. as much, it can go into a process of months. But the Trump administration is changing policies with something called expedited removal. The bottom line is people at home don't need to understand all the policies. The Trump administration is just going to work as fast as they can to get all the people you just saw on camera there out of the country as fast as possible. They're also going to use their State Department, now led by Marco Rubio, to put pressure on countries that don't cooperate with the U.S. as much when it comes to those deportations.
Bill, just 2 facts, and that's exactly what we got to do, right? Again, you guys know how I feel about Venezuela and them denying their criminals. Yeah, I think that's an act of war, right? I really do. I think that's an act of war. So, you know, at the end of the day, this Fox News commentator, she's right. This is a damning indictment of Biden's legacy. It really is. And when Democrats come out here and talk about protecting women, like all these crimes that these illegals are committing, right? Like the women are the victims. Okay? Women are the victims. So when you come out here and you talk about protecting women, you know, this should be what we're talking about here. But see, Democrats are concerned with protecting any woman unless, you know, they weren't born a woman. So those are the only women that Democrats are concerned about protecting. Otherwise, I think the American people with common sense, we realize how dangerous this situation can be. Again, when you let a lot of single military age men in the country and how that could be dangerous for young women. Okay.
2 points of clarification here. It seems a lot of these crimes are associated with sex crimes. I'm just looking at the list a bit earlier today. I don't know if that generally is the case or not. And second, if Boston's a sanctuary city, how are they allowed to do this? Because we told there would be resistance.
Boston doesn't have to cooperate with ICE, but there's nothing they can do to stop ICE from coming into their city and enforcing the law. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And that's the point ICE makes to us is, look, they don't have to cooperate with our detainer requests. They don't have to tell our officers when they're releasing somebody from jail. But we're going to do our job. We have our intel guys out in the field. We have people with eyes all over the place, and we're going to snatch those guys. So they can make ICE's job more difficult. longer and more dangerous, but it's not going to stop ICE from doing the job, guys. The bottom line is ICE says it's safer for everybody involved if locals would just hand these guys over in jail once they're arrested, but they don't. They let them out onto the streets. They don't tell ICE about it. So ICE has to spend a lot of resources gathering intel, finding these guys, and then going out into the community to do arrests, which could be dangerous. You saw that combative Haitian man. And then you saw in the case of that one MS-13 member, his friend got snagged. They weren't even looking for him. They were looking for the MS-13 guy. They picked him up because a sanctuary jurisdiction released the MS-13 guy. ICE found him and then found the guy who was in the apartment with. They found out he was an illegal alien as well. So now he's going to be deported too.
Wow.
And that's how it should be. That's exactly how it should be. Except the sanctuary cities should be cooperating, right? In the sense that they're making it more expensive for ICE, the federal government, to do their job. Now, if these sanctuary cities were cooperating, if they were actually detaining the illegals after they, commit sex crimes, then, ICE would be able to just go to the jails and pick them up. But see, ICE can't do that because these local jurisdictions are not cooperating. So they have to go into the neighborhoods. And what Tom Homan has come out and said is that, listen, Democrats are going to boohoo whine and cry about people being rounded up in the mass deportation sweeps. But ultimately, you can prevent all that, right? Extra people being rounded up who aren't necessarily criminals in the sense they've committed a crime. I mean, although they did enter the country illegally, which is a crime. But anyways, you can prevent that or have less of that if you guys cooperate, but they choose not to cooperate. So what Democrats are actually banking on here, they're banking on ICE probably rounding up somebody who is either here illegally but legally, right? For example, somebody who's been granted asylum or whatever. They're banking on ICE essentially rounding up somebody that they can make a story out of, right? That's why they're allowing it to happen, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. If your whole thing is that we don't want all these extra people being rounded up, right? Then it's better for you to cooperate with the federal government. But when you don't cooperate with the federal government, you basically said, okay, well, do what you need to do. You go out here, you go in these neighborhoods. Hey, you can just round up whoever you want. So what they're saying doesn't make sense with their stated goals, because the goal ultimately is to try to pull at people's heartstrings and to allow this stuff to happen and hope that the American people, in our opinions of the mass deportations, is going to change based off imagery that may be uncomfortable to some people. But what Democrats don't understand is that that's not going to work, right? Me personally, when I see stories like this doesn't make me sad. It doesn't make me upset. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well, this is what I voted for, right? It's exactly what we need to see. Most importantly, this is what illegal immigrants need to see, right? This is exactly what they need to see. Because a lot of them, they're going to mass deport themselves. As we've talked about, they're going to leave. They're going to be like, nah, I'm not trying to go through all that. I'm out, right? Let me go to Mexico. They setting up camps, right? Shine Bomb, right? She barking, but she ain't doing no biting, okay? So go ahead and going back to Mexico, okay? Going wherever you came from. A lot of them are going to do that. A lot of them are going to do that. And it's going to make the operation more efficient. And yeah, I want to see a lot more of this. Again, they should make a TV show out of it. I think it will probably be one of the most watched TV shows on air, right? It definitely be more watched than CNN and MSNBC, which, by the way, I highly doubt they'll be covering this, right? And they want to know why their ratings are declining. Their ratings are declining because you only see stuff like this on Fox News and Newsmax or News Nation. You don't see this type of stuff on CNN and MSNBC. You don't see this. They don't cover this type of stuff. They too busy boohoo whining and crying about Trump, while Trump is doing exactly what the American people want. And people are running to Fox News and watching it and saying, yeah, this is exactly what we voted for. We agree with this, right? We don't want to hear about January 6th. We don't want to hear about all this stuff these people have been crying about for years. We want to see the results. That's what we want to hear about. And promises made, promises kept.
Battle at the border is on fire right now. Thousands of illegal immigrants busting through border checkpoints, clashing with Border Patrol agents and police trying to get into the United States. Apparently upset that their CBP One app, that scam app that the Biden administration put in place so people could schedule appointments and basically get direct access right into the United States. Well, it stopped working. And suddenly their appointments were revoked, all by President Trump. Border czar Tom Homan says it is game on time. Watch.
The last 24 hours, total apprehensions on the southwest border, 766. Compare that to the 10 to 12,000 Biden had at one time. CBP1 releases, 0. CHNV, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela releases, 0. Total of 766 across the entire southwest border. That is a game changer.
Well, joining me now is veteran Border Patrol supervisor, author of the great book called Invaded. JJ Carroll joins me now. 24 years with the Customs and Border Protection. JJ, I mean, just give me your sense of things at a high level over the past 48 hours, what you've seen happen. Of course, you saw the massive disaster of the Biden administration over the past 4 years. Caused you to write a whole book about the disaster. In 48 hours, it seems like everything is changing.
Everything has changed in 48 hours, and Donald Trump is the alpha. He's not one of the alphas in the world. He is the alpha male in the world, and what he has done in 48 hours is shocking, and only he could have done that. I got a text from a higher level senior agent in San Diego sector, and he said, hey, just want you to know, this was the morning after Donald Trump got sworn in and said everything's changed. No one is allowed to be released, JJ. Nobody, women and children, deported. Men, single adult military age men, deported. Everyone is deported. And if you want to release someone, you have to go to DC and begin to ask permission to get out.
Wow.
Nope. Who in the Border Patrol station is going to call up to sector or DC and to go to the associate of this associate chief and then say, yeah, I want to release somebody. Oh, really? No. Everything has changed. A new pursuit policy is going to come to effect. A new use of force policy is coming into effect. But you are right. The powers, the globalist elite are not going to just bow down to Donald Trump. They're going to try their hardest. And you have desperate people on the South Side that were promised. They made journeys over 7,000 miles to get to America. And now you're telling me I can't come in? Yeah, that's what we're telling you. But they're not going to stop. Would you stop? I wouldn't. I came 7,000 miles. I'm jumping the border. Fight's on.
And that's what we're seeing in these videos. They're coming right through Texas. Maybe you can talk about some of what we're seeing here, in these different videos down in Texas. I think in Eagle Pass and some other spots here, you've seen the videos here. These individuals basically going right through these different checkpoints, but then they're running up to like larger wall doors. What are we seeing here?
So you have your secondary fence. So you have a primary fence, which Donald Trump is trying to erect and bring back, and then have the Trump wall, which is the secondary fence. And you get stuck between that. Sure, if I build a 35-foot wall, you're going to build a 36-foot ladder. That's fine. It takes you a long time to get a 36-foot ladder and run it across the border, put it up, and have you run up, hang on the fence, then get the ladder on the other side. And by then, I'm there. I'm waiting on you. So what is happening is the whole immigration world has changed overnight. You went from, hey, I'm walking in, those idiots in America are not even going to let me go free. They're going to give me a free plane ticket. They're going to give me thousands of dollars, literally thousands of dollars on a card. They're going to give me new clothes. I'm going to get Medicaid. I'm going to get everything. And they're going to feed me and house me for over 2 years. Oh, great. To present day, you're not allowed in here. And they're all like this. Whoa, wait, I don't understand. Yesterday, my friend Juan got $20,000 in gifts and everything else, and he's in New York City. Yeah, but Juan's going to get his sorry butt's going to be arrested and sent back to Mexico, wherever he came from. That is what's happened. But you have to understand, when you have these clashes of ideologies and then you have clashes of action, you are going to have a combustible situation. And that's what we're seeing. It's going to take some time, and then it'll kind of smooth out, and everybody will understand this is the new game we're playing now.
I'm wondering from your perspective, I know you've gotten a lot of fights. You've had to draw your gun many times over the years. If you read your book, Invaded, there's some harrowing stories in that book of you and your partners going after these guys. When I see these, like, if I'm there on the border and I'm a Border Patrol agent or National Guard, and I'm seeing hundreds of illegal immigrants rushing towards me, are they allowed to fire upon them? I know that sounds really harsh, but what's sort of the directive at this point when they're charging into the United States? This is an invasion.
It is an invasion. And if you feel that you have your life is at threat, If someone's carrying a weapon or you're feeling like they're going to charge and run over you, yes, you have your ability to pull your weapon out and shoot, but you don't have 100 rounds. You can't reload that fast. What we're going to have to do is have the barriers put in place. And you're touching on something else that needs to be discussed. We have a complete generation gap problem, a knowledge and experience problem. You have thousands of Border Patrol agents that have never done the job, Clayton. Never. They don't know how to control a crowd. They don't know how to control one person. They don't know how to, they don't have to do their job. They don't know how to track. They don't know how to arrest. They don't even know how to process properly the way that it should be done. They're just catch and release. So we have a intellectual experience gap in the United States Border Patrol, and they got to close that gap fast. Look, we're looking at, you just had 2 days ago on the inauguration day, you had a Border Patrol agent, a seasoned veteran Border Patrol agent, get killed on his job in Vermont. He did a vehicle stop and pulled over 2 people, and they had body armor, it was a meth and all this other kind of drugs, and they killed them. That is on Joe Biden. You're going to see illegal aliens dying. You're going to see Border Patrol agents getting killed in line of duty, and National Guard and Army. Why? Because we have been forced into a world of insanity, of treason. We have been led by traitors. You just brought in 30 million people into America in 4 years. Why would those millions more just go, it's a policy? In their brain, they're thinking, I don't care. I can still come, right? No, you can't. Now we have a fight on our hands. And we're going to see unprecedented numbers of deaths and injuries in the Border Patrol.
Oh, that's awful to think about, right? You've had 4 years of just sort of stand down, like don't even follow the policies. That's crazy to think about. I hadn't thought about that piece of it. I'll get you out of here on this, JJ, which is we're seeing, of course, the pushback from certain sanctuary cities like Denver, Colorado, in fact, and others saying they're going to fight these policies by President Trump. And now you have the Department of Justice saying they're going to investigate, Denver and these other areas that are standing against Tom Homan's policies and President Trump's policies. What are you hearing about that, sort of like the sanctuary city issue in places like Denver, Colorado?
I think that one of your mayors, Mayor Johnston, is a beta male, and he threw down a weak gauntlet, and that is going to be a challenge to Tom Homan, and Tom Homan's going to steamroll him. He's just going to send more agents down there. Like he said today, oh, you don't want me to send 50 agents? I'm sending 500 agents down there, and I'm going to destroy your city. And a bigger question needs to be asked, Clayton. Why are you protecting criminals in your country,
right?
In your city, while your city of Denver just gave 20,000 medical appointments to illegal aliens? Your medical facilities have crumbled in Denver. Denver, you're cutting out all your recreational hours. You're cutting your police force, your fire force. You're cutting library time. You're cutting everything. Why? To help illegal aliens? That's how upside down our world is. And we need to call out these people. And I will promise you, that gutless little twit, Mayor Johnston in Denver, good luck, buddy. All I want to do, all I'm asking for, yes, he's done. And what I want, Clayton, is very simple. I want this to be a pay-per-view event. I want to pay $49.99 to see Tom Homan and his agents come into Denver and take over. As Mayor Johnson says, you've never seen someone willing to fight more than a Highland mom. Okay. You're going to throw your moms in the front lines of Tom Homan and the agents. Good luck. I just want on pay-per-view. That's all I care about.
Get your supporters at Tren de Aragua from Venezuela to come help you out, Mr. Mayor, because it's going to be a disaster, and it has been a disaster in cities like Denver, Colorado, Portland, Oregon, and others. And I've certainly saw what Eric Adams in New York City has had to deal with, and what he's now confessing about to Tucker Carlson in a pretty bombshell interview as well. I guess we're going to see a lot of bombs, a lot of fireworks, I guess, over the next few months as this unfolds. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see where this goes. JJ Carroll has been on the front lines of this story, educating all of us about this disaster under the Biden administration for the past couple of years. And hopefully the tide has turned. JJ, great to see you.
In hospitals, they may not be citizens.
What are all the people who are in jail right now who have kids? What are they? Separated from their children. Did anybody see Donald Trump? He was at a cathedral church here in Washington, D.C. Talk about awkward.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
What a joke.
They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage.
I wonder if anybody noticed how uncomfortable Donald Trump looks here. Yeah, Donald Trump looked a little uncomfortable here with this conversation. Yeah, he doesn't seem happy here. In fact, nobody seems to be liking what's happening here. Seems like maybe he got ambushed. You know what I'm saying? He got ambushed by the lady up there.
Pervert.
Not exactly feeling this
Wash
conversation.
the dishes after we eat in.
Look at J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is like, this is some cut. Here it goes. That's, folks, hold on a second.
Night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation.
Hold on, man. I know there's people out there that say that Donald Trump is full of shit, that he's not really serious about the deportations or the repatriations. They say it's all just a talking point. Hell, I was in a Twitter space.
Oh, shit.
People were saying that I was, in an X space. That this is just white nationalist talking points. I disagree with them, and I disagree again. I just disagree. Does that look like a white nationalist talking point? Look at his face. He looks like somebody who needs some fleet. Like he's got a stomach ache. His tummy hurt. And he can't go boom, boom. Look at his face.
In hospitals, they may not be citizens.
That is not somebody who doesn't give a shit. You may say, Tim, it's wrong. You shouldn't be this way. But don't say he doesn't care, because that's a face of being upset. That you're hearing somebody tell you the opposite of what you think should happen. People voted for him because of that. Not everybody. Some people voted for him in spite of it. Let's be very clear. Some people voted for Trump in spite of that. But some people voted for that very reason. You see that face? That face is a face of someone giving a shit. You know what I didn't see Kamala do a whole lot of? care. Yeah, she didn't seem to care about anything. Definitely not the things that she ran on in 2020, 2019. She didn't care about that at all. Left that behind like a broke ninja with no car. You should criticize Donald Trump. Do it. That's what presidents are for. But make no mistake about it. He has a mandate for a reason. It's because the other side sucks worse. You just live in a bubble.
Work the night shifts in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Man, I had a hard time getting through this, man, without thinking, where's the speech for all the black parents that get separated from their kids due to mass incarceration? They pray for who they want to pray for, don't they? They look for mercy for who they look for mercy for. What about all the people in jail for nonviolent offenses away from their kids? You do know every American citizen in jail, if they have kids, what are they? Nah, go ahead. What are they? Since I'm such a bad guy talking about repatriation of people that are here undocumented or illegally, what are all the people who are in jail right now who have kids? What are they? Separated from their children is what that is. Some of you grew up separated from your parents because of the system. She ain't praying for your ass. No violins will be played. Here goes the world's smallest violin for your broken childhood, your broken family. Listen real close. You hear it say, so what? You know what they say when we talk about our lives? You got a victim mentality. You got a victim mentality. Jesus Christ. Pull yourself up. There was a guy who had the same thing. He made it. Why can't everyone else do what that one person did who's 7 feet tall and has a 6 foot vertical and run the 40 and 30, I don't know. And 6'3" or whatever. So yeah, I had a problem with listening to this and keeping my food down. Because I know how they treat us when we go through the same shit. When we go through similar trials. And when I say this, guys, I'm not just talking about black folks. I'm primarily talking about black folks because that's what I do. You can't do this job. To all my white people that still watch me, I want you to understand something. You ain't going to hear this anywhere else, so let me tell you something. You can't do this job effectively for black people unless you do this job for black people. I know that seems redundant, but it's not. Some people do this job to usher people into the Democratic Party. That would be your Rollins, your Native Pods, your Joy Reids. That's why they do the job. That is the mission. But they're not doing it for black people. They're talking. Sometimes they're talking to black people. Michael Steele, Simone Sanders, they're talking to black people, but they're not doing it for black people. So if you want to do this job for black people, you have to do it for black people. You know, see how rare it is to hear that? How rare that is? And you can't do it effectively unless you focus it. America has no problem splitting up our families. America's been splitting up black families since 1619. And here's the violin playing. We just had a president in office that all the Democrats voted for, who made it his mission to make more of us go to jail. And he succeeded. And people act like they're going to erect a statue to the guy because he got old. Now he's a saint because he got old, got forced out of job, reluctantly quit, then screwed his party by putting in somebody who knew couldn't win. And now they want to erect a statue after him because he's a hero. What they do, they say that the conquerors get to rewrite history. What's the saying? Someone knows it. There's something that Dave Chappelle says that fits this moment perfectly. He says, some things you shouldn't be able to say out loud. At least not in front of the blacks. You know what that is? Every statement about migrants. Every statement y'all make crying about the migrant situation, about their troubles, their pains, I'm always thinking about what? I'm thinking how those same cries, those same problems are in the black community every day. And when we talk about them, we're victims. We're playing victim. And that's the problem.
That's a fact.
This look on Trump's face, maybe he is all the bad things people say. Because this is exactly the face people make when we talk about black people. Get it now, immigrants who come to this country and treat black people like we are garbage. Right now, people dealing with the Fat Joe thing. Fat Joe treated black Americans like, oh, we using the N-word like he invented it, like he a black American, all types of shit. But this face on Trump, that rolling of the eyes, the glossing over, that's the exact same face we get. This is the one Pat David gave me. And I say, hey, right there, buddy, with your fancy talking about everybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Almost done. Let's get to the end of this.
Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people.
How do you feel about reparations, lady?
Good of all people in this nation and the world.
You such a saint.
Amen.
They say one
Trump
thing
sitting there
about
like,
reparations.
can I go now? Where's my chief of staff? I can punch him in the stomach for getting me here. Who set this up? Somebody's here is going to go, look at this. These are not happy campers. Look at the guys in the second row. Like, okay, Trump's going to have somebody's ass for this one.
Major developments on immigration just days after President Trump declared an emergency at the southern border. A military buildup underway. The first of some 1,500 active duty troops have arrived. Marines from Camp Pendleton arriving with heavy equipment and Osprey aircraft. And for the first time, military planes are making deportation flights. This C-17 at Fort Bliss, Texas. Migrants in restraint seen boarding a flight to Guatemala. A new image from inside another flight taking off from Tucson, Arizona. Meantime, the administration saying that arrests are ramping up. More than 500 undocumented migrants arrested in multiple cities over the last 24 hours. And tonight, the president's new border czar, Tom Homan, saying this is only the beginning. ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, leads us off tonight.
Tonight, for the first time, U.S. military aircraft flying undocumented migrants out of the country as President Donald Trump launches his deportation campaign. The White House releasing these pictures, dozens of migrants in chains boarding C-17 aircraft. The flights landing in Guatemala carrying roughly 160 people, men and women.
Criminals.
Very well. Today, the Trump administration's new border czar, Tom Homan, telling me it's only the beginning. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military?
They cut your hand off. They cut your hand off in Saudi Arabia for this kind of shit. We taking it easy on these people.
Every single day to take deportees out?
Yes.
Get 100 lashes.
This as the military buildup on the border escalates. 1,500 active duty personnel, Army and Marines deploying. Their mission to support enhanced detection and monitoring efforts and repair and replace physical barriers.
These real heroes now.
ABC's Matt Rivers on the
I can be proud of the military when I see this television. This what your ass get paid to do. This what your training is for, goddammit. Terrorists come across that border. Cartel violence. This way you earn your keep.
To the border to reinforce it. It's clearly meant to be a deterrent against future migration.
I see the federal leaders when I see y'all.
You might see a lot more of them over the coming months.
Far from the border, ICE raids and arrests in cities across the country in the days since the president was sworn in. Some of them likely long planned, but a clear sign of what's to come. Boston, New York, and Newark, New Jersey. Newark's mayor saying agents raided a small business without a warrant, detaining American citizens in the process.
People were fingerprinted. Pictures of their IDs and face were taken there.
Big IDs.
When I got this information, I was appalled. The Trump administration releasing numbers showing 538 arrests over the past 24 hours. The White House saying they're initially targeting undocumented immigrants who have committed violent crimes. But Homan acknowledges not everyone swept up in the raids fits that profile. And he has a stark warning to anyone who's in the country illegally. So is this what we will see every single day? Ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported.
Yes.
Yes.
But you're going to see the numbers steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture. Right now, it's concentrating public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population.
So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table. Because it's not okay to, violate laws.
What a joke.
So
what
if you're in the country legally, you got a problem.
This ain't a joke. So after you get those terrorists, those killers, and those rapists, and those cartel criminals up out the country, then you're just gonna go after everybody, right? You didn't even say thank you. You didn't even call him a hero for getting all those bandits out of our country. This is disgusting. They don't give a shit about getting no terrorists out this country. They want you to picture Hitler rounding up Jews. That's what these people want us to believe. Families being ripped apart. All this disgusting nonsense.
Hoping those who are in the country illegally, who have not been
families
by the federal judge, should leave.
Homan was very clear that those committing violent crimes will be deported first and acknowledges that the show of force, these strong warnings to all undocumented immigrants are meant to send a message that they should self-deport, since it would take a very long time and massive amounts of manpower and money to deport an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants. Whit?
Martha Raddatz, thank you.
Got a big military. This is the most powerful country in the world. I hear that shit all the time. We ain't got a number of time on our hands. Ain't nothing. To get to 11 million, you got to start at 1. So you go 1, 2. Then we'll get to them. We'll get to them. It's a new day here in America. We're not going for this crap. Oh, they thought they finna tell us what to do. Talking about our Democrats said Biden said black people need to join hands. You had to get with them to get anything in America. That's what Democrats said. You see that whole dream is being torn apart right in front of their very eyes.
So tonight on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, boy, the Biden-Harris administration did the migrants dirty. And let me tell you why I say they did them dirty. So remember, we had talked about many times the CBP One app that they could download, and then they could try to get asylum and the process a lot faster in their home countries, and they get an approval, an appointment. They come in, go through it, and then they can be led into the interior of the United States. Now, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump has been promising, hey, from day one, I'm shutting that app down. It's done, right? So it was no secret at all what Trump was trying to do.
Cartel smuggling.
Why I say your boy Biden did the migrants dirty. Let me show you a video that was recorded out in Ciudad Juarez, right, in Mexico, of an immigrant woman that had an appointment today, and her appointment was canceled abruptly. Let's check that out.
He is. Scam. That's a scam.
So this is what the part I say Biden was cruel, and
That's
the Biden-Harris administration was cruel.
Give me a break.
If you know,
please,
that Trump was going to shut everything down,
get no $10,000.
He told you so many times that app was going to be down on the 20th.
6 months.
Why are you scheduling people to have appointments today on the day of the inauguration? Wouldn't you say the last appointment would be the 17th, which was Friday? Wouldn't that would have been the last day that you'd have done that?
Yeah, she was scared.
Now, this app will allow 1,450 people to basically get into the United States a day. It's like a lottery system, right? So every day people are on here trying to hopefully get picked. They get picked, they go on for their appointment, and then they come on into the United States of America. But Biden-Harris was cruel for that. Why do they think Trump was going to allow that? Now, this is what I'm thinking, because you know the Democrats and how they move. I'm thinking they did that on purpose so they can say, oh, look how evil Trump is. Look what he's doing to those people, when the man told you the app was going to be shut down. If it were me and I had the app and I knew that when he come in that was done, then I would say, hey, the last appointment's on the 17th. After that, because we already know what's going to happen. He's going to shut down the app. So I really believe Biden did that to try to make Trump look bad. But he already promised the app's going to be shut down. So now, Biden, it makes you look bad because you're using those people to, once again, I guess, weaponize them against Trump or whatever. Now, speaking about Biden, do you know he pardoned his whole family? Did y'all know that? Biden pardoned his whole family. Then when right before Trump was inaugurated, do you know he pardoned, he also pardoned Dr. Fauci? Do y'all know that too? If Dr. Fauci did nothing wrong, what does he need a pardon for? So all the stuff that they said that Trump was going to do, pardon his family, do this and do that with pardons, Biden did it all. So you already know you already know the precedent that sets, right? So that means before Trump get out of office, he's going to pardon himself. He's going to pardon his family. And anybody he knows, he's going to give them a blanket pardon because remember, Biden started it first. All the stuff they said Trump was going to do, oh, Trump this and Trump, and Biden and Harris end up doing. Isn't that crazy?
The big guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is so crazy. But Biden and Kamala is wrong for that. Well, y'all are mad that you lost the election, especially Kamala. So you didn't care about the migrants no more? You didn't care about the immigrants no more? I guess because they were into a means for y'all in that election. Boy, I tell you. Now the immigrants need to look at the Democrats and see Democrats. The immigrants gonna check you out, and some of the first generation immigrants probably gonna vote against you too, because of that wrong you doing them people. Like you brought all them people over here. New Trump got elected, and you didn't want to start rolling that stuff back. What you were doing, you still were letting them come over here. Like, boy, I tell you, that's sad. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. But hey, when Trump got elected, y'all already knew what the get down was. Y'all already knew what the get down was, right? I just don't like seeing people being used for a political game like that, because that's all what Biden did with them people. He used them, and that dude has been doing horrible things, and he don't care because they not his people. Biden been on that. I can care less about anybody except my people. So, yeah. But Trump got Trump got inaugurated today, and he's already doing executive orders to remain in Mexico. Trump, they said that ICE about to do operations in all the major cities. And I got to look into Brandon Johnson. I heard Brandon Johnson say something crazy, but I want to confirm it because I definitely want to report on Brandon Johnson and his crazy self. Brandon Johnson, don't get caught up, bro. Don't get caught up. The Democrats are not going to save.
Much. Every single day, Donald Trump continues to prove just how incompetent the previous administration was. I mean, come on. Just in 5 days, this man has gotten so much more done than the Biden administration was able to do in 4 years. President Trump is now headed to North Carolina and then California. The days of having America First leadership in the United States have returned, according to John Rocker. Look at all the news outlets. We need somebody whom is a leader right now, somebody whom can take action. And this is exactly what we voted for. This right here, this is quite literally what we voted for in terms of trying to clean up America and also have aid readily available for Americans as opposed to Ukraine and all this other stuff. Of course, Trump aims to critique the previous administration's response to the hurricane, claiming that North Carolina was treated terribly by FEMA and promising to enhance recovery efforts. And this right here is somebody who's giving her reasons as to why she's proud of her Trump vote. If you want to know why I voted for Donald Trump, take a look at North California. In 4 months, our past administration couldn't do anything for these people. In 2 days, President Trump has these people being transferred to fully furnished apartments. Come on, y'all. This guy's getting it done. Hold on, let's hear from her mouth, though.
If you ever want to know why I voted for Donald Trump, take a look at Western North Carolina. In 4 months, our past administration couldn't do anything for these people for the hurricane that hit them on September 24th of 2024 this year. These people lost their homes. They lost their cars, their stores. There was no Walmarts to go and replace things. There was no Lowe's to go and get tools at. They lost their family. They lost everything in this flood. It took everything from them. It wiped out entire towns. And our past administration had the nerve to cut them a $750 check and wipe their hands.
Always $750 or around 700. Something with the 700 marker on it. Why?
Away. These people went in the freezing cold, sleeping on the grounds in tents with their babies. Some of them had newborn babies sleeping on the ground in tents with snow on the ground. Can you imagine? And in 2 days, President Trump has these people being transferred to fully furnished apartments. In 2 days.
Wow.
Our borders are being closed.
Because now we don't have somebody that's in the office
how humiliating
taking these funds and just doing whatever the hell he wants to do with them. You know, I can't believe that we have families that are being dismantled the way that they are that were being dismantled and still dealing with the crisis of Hurricane Helene. And the previous administration can house illegals, give them fully furnished apartments, give them food stamps. You know what I mean? Put them up, let them live all big, but you have nothing readily available for our American citizens, the people who actually pay taxes here. That's just heartbreaking, man. It's sad. Somebody said, amazing what we can do when billions aren't sent to Ukraine constantly. Tony says, so frustrating. We sent so much money to Ukraine while our own people suffered. And that's just ridiculous, man. That's just honestly unacceptable. And that's the reason why I voted for Donald Trump. Trump signed a 90-day pause on all foreign aid until Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, and California citizens are taken care of. It's amazing how easy it is to help America first. And it's wonderful to see my money being used to do it. This is what we pay our taxes for right here. Promises made, promises kept is something that I've been seeing pop up on my timeline quite frequently for the last couple of days. It's definitely great news. Donald Trump is going to be out there to be with the victims and also see how more aid can be provided to them. Unlike the previous administration, somebody said it's beautiful to see justice for the right people, especially the ones who pay taxes every day. I'm pretty sure that's what he meant to say right there. Now, Matt Van Swole posted this video. Woo! This is Northwestern North Carolina right here. Wow. So this is drone footage of Western North Carolina. It says the USA has zero money for us, Western North Carolina, yet absolutely had to send billions to Ukraine. Then Trump
only cared about Ukraine
takes office, and now magically we don't have to send billions to Ukraine. WNC gets help instantly. Western North Carolina. Make it make sense. You're not going to be able to make it make sense, unfortunately. Well, our common sense can make it make sense. Of course, we can do
all
that,
this would come out.
In terms of the previous administration being able to explain this, no, it doesn't make sense. These people are foreign assets, if you ask me. They colluding with other people in order to enrich themselves. President Trump actually blasted FEMA previously and saying that he was actually going to visit North Carolina on Friday. I'm stopping in North Carolina because those people were treated very badly. We're going to get that thing straightened out.
FEMA is getting in the way of everything. And the Democrats actually use FEMA not to help North Carolina.
It makes no sense.
So I'm stopping on Friday. I'm stopping in North Carolina, first stop.
Yeah.
Because those people were treated very badly by Democrats. And I'm stopping there. We're going to get that thing straightened out because they're still suffering from a hurricane from months ago. And then I'm going to go to California. I'll go. FEMA is getting in the way of everything.
Yeah, man, this goes to show you this is the type of president you need. And this is what they are afraid of because Donald Trump ain't in there to enrich himself. So he's getting in the way. He's the middleman between the corruption and what's right now. And the corrupted, they over there sitting back going, oh my God, no, he's messing up the money. He over there like, hey man, we need to get the American citizens taken care of. That's priority number one. And being a leader in that position, that should be priority number one. I don't know why we're trying to prioritize other people before us. It's not saying that we don't have a heart towards other people. I'm just saying, like, come on, dog. How can we take care of anybody if we can't take care of ourselves? Seriously, Jack said we're coming North Carolina, FEMA-ish, and Trump will take care of you. We have not forgotten what Biden and Skamala did to you. Help is on the way. So we can see, man, the people are with the hearts and minds are of the American people are with North Carolina. President Trump just called out FEMA for blocking progress like a dam holding back a flood for relief. While others play politics, he's breaking through the barriers to bring aid where it's needed most. North Carolina deserves action, not excuses. We need you in SoCal next. He's definitely said he's going to visit California. Now, this Western North Carolina resident who had been sitting in FEMA hotels for months is now being moved rapidly into long-term, fully furnished apartments. The Trump effect is here is what Matt Van also added to this.
When I found out that I was actually going to be able to get an apartment, I was just like relieved. And it didn't really hit in until I like walked in here and saw a kitchen table and a bed. And I was like, oh my God, you guys got me cups.
Wow.
I mean, it just had like just enough to where I could bring in my own things. And then I started crying when I saw the bed because it's just like, it's just very comforting. I'm like, oh, I get to stay here for a little while. So that was nice. And then we did hugs with the FEMA guys and Gordon, who helped me get in here. And then the dogs somehow knew that this was where we were going to be for a minute and had a band of a time. And I just like sat in here and was just like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay for a minute. It's very, it's just very, it's a great relief.
That's good, man. Beyond heartbreaking, knowing that these families, these people aren't getting the proper aid to help them in these crisis situations. Goes to show you how important this president is. It goes to show you just how, I mean, come on, look at it. America, we had Donald Trump. We ran to Joe Biden because of our TDS. And because of Joe Biden, we ran right back to this guy. For this reason, because we knew that he was a leader and somebody whom can get the job done. We have people out here suffering, people out here whom are deprived of basic essentials. This woman was happy that she had access to a bed. Now, don't get it twisted. We all need to be grateful on a regular basis, even though we enjoy these things without having to worry about them being taken away from us. You have to, man, you have to, your heart has to go out to these people, man. You have to be a human about this, right? Sorry, y'all, I'm getting a little sidetracked off of just how serious this is and the lack of effort from the Biden administration. And you know it was a lack of effort when you watch a president come in just in ain't even a week in and he's already there to try to provide some sort of aid and relief. This right here is Donald Trump is taking care of North Carolina. Go ahead and see what she has to say. I think I have to turn the volume up on this one. Hold on.
Y'all can say whatever you want about the last administration. You can say whatever you want about Trump and the current administration. But he's been in office for about 5 minutes. And Western North Carolina is getting the help that they have needed and begged for months. So thank you, Trump. Thank you for this administration.
To Joe Biden.
And thank you for all those people who have stuck by the people in Western North Carolina.
Dang, you were down about them people.
We're so grateful for you.
Ooh, I'm so sorry for everybody ear that I just toe up. My fault, y'all. Y'all know we got to customize the volume on this thing. Insurrection Barbie posted the fact that Donald Trump is able to help the people of North Carolina in his first week means that the previous administration made a conscious effort to leave American citizens without any help after a natural disaster. Dang. He's right. I'm going to read that one more time. The fact that Donald Trump is able to help the people of North Carolina in his first week means that the previous administration made a conscious effort to leave American citizens without any help after a natural disaster. And those are the people that are trying to guilt you into putting conditions on giving California money. Perspective. So it brings me back to my point of
revolutionary salute to our brother Samuel Booker for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, family. Salute to you.
Who's getting rich off of this? As Dan Bongino always tells us to do, follow the money. Who's profiting off of this is what I really want to know. Biden and his administration were the most corrupt. They all belong in jail. Yes, they do, man. Yes, they do. From Hunter to Papa Biden to Pelosi, all of them, man. Absolutely accurate. If you don't look at the literal mountains of evidence beyond any doubt that the Biden regime was intentionally trying to hurt us Americans, not just neglecting to protect, intentionally causing harm, then you are blind as a baby hedgehog, FJB. I feel like Joe Biden definitely had some sort of alternative agenda that was not centered around helping the American people. Just look at all the things that he did. I mean, sending money to foreign countries, creating all these different shell companies to funnel all of his money from said foreign countries, imprisoning political opponents, imprisoning anybody whom may challenge his political agendas. He had big tech, able to censor people, shut up people. Yeah, man, he never had the Americans' best interests at heart at all. I said, moreover, we need to fill the coffers. I'm sorry. It says, moreover, we need to fill the coffers of the Amish back up all they selfishly did. What? Let me start this over. Moreover, we need to fill the coffers of the Amish back up for all they selfishly did, as well as recognize them for being part of the bedrock of our society and civility they exude in our country. Yeah, shout out to the Amish for real for how they showed up for President Trump during this campaign. I mean, yeah, this voter election cycle. My fault, y'all. Kamala and her husband are investors in the lithium mines and want to buy the land. Why would they help the people stay there? So they trying to get people out of there so they can go ahead and buy some more land is a theory. That's not too far-fetched for me to believe. It's government weaponization to have not helped the people who suffered from Hurricane Helene. Yeah, for sure. They was also using a lot of our taxpayer dollars to go after their political opposition. They should be prosecuted. We already discovered they weren't helping people with Trump signs. They need to out everyone responsible for this corruption. Trump helps North Carolina in days while the last administration let him rot. Disgusting. I'm continuing to read a few more. It's a clear statement. The previous administration hated America and its people. It's impossible not to see. Thank God for Donald Trump. All I can say is Donald Trump being back in office is about to prove to so many different people how corrupt. I mean, that Joe Biden and his family was corrupt. I mean, come on, this is a family that got pardoned by his own family. Joe Biden pardoned everybody, even people who allegedly didn't do anything criminal, which raises a lot of suspicion for the American people. Biden, Kamala, neither one of them, in my opinion, could be trusted. Known for being liars, caught on tape lying. I mean, multiple lies too, not just one or two. Donald Trump going to North Carolina, couldn't be more excited. I'm going to California. Couldn't be more excited because I know that these people, our American citizens, friends, and families will actually get the aid that they deserve, as opposed to sitting here suffering, watching all of this money go to Ukraine, knowing that it could be helping them, watching all this money go to these illegals, knowing that it could be helping them, watching all this money go everywhere but them, knowing that they're paying their tax dollars for these type of situations. Oh my gosh.
Chris Hedges report. Let's start with Washington, then go to our favorite place, Chris, the Middle East. In Washington, it was, as I said earlier, the familiar Trump braggadocio. The whole world was going to be in awe of them, in love with them, but if not in love with them, then in fear with them. There seems a lack of, at least public, understanding in Washington that the tectonic plates have shifted in the world and that the United States is no longer the only tough hombre on the ranch. How did it look to you?
Yeah, I would say that's also true with the Biden administration, that they were playing a role that they no longer, that anyone else would allow them to assume on the world stage. I mean, you saw that with the constant intervention in the UN on behalf of Israel. I mean, the votes were so lopsided. And really, since this genocide began, the message has been quite clear. One that Trump, of course, intends to embrace. And that is, not only is there no rules-based order, that was a fiction, but that all of those countries, the vast majority of the countries that attempt to reestablish or establish some kind of a rules-based order around the genocide are shut down by the United States, by the UK, Germany, and these countries in the global north that have been funding this genocide. And of course, it's a perpetuation of this fantasy, perhaps blown up a little more or a little more pompously expressed than it is under Biden. But there's a continuum there. And I think the United States, as it becomes more isolated, becomes more self-deluded. And that makes Trump the kind of perfect poster child for where we are.
Yes, I mean, I was watching the nominee for ambassador to the United Nations, and she was talking a language that even Israeli leaders long ago, since Oslo, have ceased to talk in. She appears to believe there is no such thing as a Palestinian people, even though on the White House lawn, the Oslo Agreement was signed between Israel and the then Palestinian leadership. She seems to believe that God gave Judea and Samaria in biblical title to Israel, when in fact, under American law, as everybody else's law, this is illegally held, occupied territory. What should we make of that?
Yeah, that is the rhetorical shift, which is not insignificant. And all of these views are echoed by Mike Huckabee, who's been appointed by Trump to be the ambassador to Israel. I mean, Huckabee, of course, has also said the Palestinian people do not exist, or there is no West Bank, it is Judea and Samaria. And then that's because Trump's ideological void is filled with this Christian fascism, this magical thinking of Christian Zionism. So we don't want to paper over the fact that, for instance, Israel clearly wants to annex the West Bank. The since the ceasefire came into effect. The attacks, especially in the Jenin refugee camp, have been accelerated. Now, the Biden administration would at least pay fealty to the reality that you just expressed, but they wouldn't do anything to stop it. But now you're right. These figures in the Trump administration speak or adopt the same rhetorical fantasy or rhetorical lie that is perpetuated by Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and these far-right representatives of the colonists in the West Bank, and that's the shift. But we don't want to let the Biden administration or the Democrats get away scot-free, because they were full-throated defenders of the genocide. What was the final figure? $20 billion in supplemental arms shipments and arms sales to Israel since the genocide began. But yes, it is a difference about how the Palestine-Israel conflict is described. And it's not a small difference, but on the ground, to the Palestinians in the West Bank or the Palestinians in Gaza, I'm not sure it makes much difference in terms of vis-a-vis U.S. policy.
Let me digress for a minute, taking advantage of your peerless experience in the region as a former head of the New York Times Middle East Bureau. What would be the point of annexing the West Bank? In that all of the millions who live there would presumably not be allowed to vote, and so would be the living, breathing proof of the apartheid nature of the state of Israel. What would be the point of annexing it, as opposed to continuing to merely brutally subjugate and settle it?
The same point in terms of annexing northern Gaza. It's about depopulation. The goal, and these figures like Smotrich have never hidden this, the goal is, of course, the erasure of the Palestinians, not only from Gaza, but from the West Bank, to have a quote unquote, we can't say ethnically pure, because Jewish residents of Israel come from all ethnicities, but a quote unquote religiously pure state. That's the goal. That's their desire. Whether they can achieve it or not is the question. They've not been able to achieve it in Gaza. They will create a humanitarian crisis.
Revolutionary salute to our queen, Yaya Keys, for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, queen. Salute to you.
In southern Gaza of such catastrophic proportions that they hope that there will be pressure on countries, in particular Egypt, if they can make it happen, to expel the people from Gaza. But they have the same demented vision for the West Bank. So I think it's a step towards that ultimate desire, that ultimate end, which is to depopulate, to eradicate Palestinians from what little land they have left.
Let's turn to what I think is an even bigger enchilada, not to minimize the Middle East in any way. But I said in my monologue, the reason I'm happy that Trump is there rather than Harris, though I would prefer that neither of them were there, the reason I'm happier that Trump is there is because he has now officially stated through little Marco Rubio and through 500 public statements that he will stop World War III, that the war in Ukraine has to come to an end. In other words, he's not going to go to war against Russia, which saves us if it happens, if we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, if it's real light and not a nuclear flash, that all these other issues we at least survive to argue about. Do you share that view?
Yeah, vis-a-vis Russia, the question is how aggressive he's going to be towards China. And that's a big question. The provocations that are made by, in particular, the U.S. Sixth Fleet and is quite extensive in the South China Sea. The de facto expansion of NATO into neighboring countries around China is real. There's a heavy push or belief in the Pentagon that the next war will be with China. Can Trump stop that trajectory? I don't know. He certainly has a more rational policy towards Russia and Ukraine, without question. Remember, at the beginning of the Ukrainian conflict, even Henry Kissinger, a man I loathe, of course, said that the conflict should be stopped and there should be a negotiated settlement or an exchange of land for peace, for which he was excoriated. But of course, and that's what's going to happen eventually. It could have happened before all of this. The whole policy in Ukraine was very cynical. It was a classic proxy war where the United States and its allies used Ukraine to its own detriment. They knew in the end Ukraine had no chance in a long war of attrition, as has been proven clear, but they would degrade the Russian military and isolate Putin within Europe, which they've succeeded in doing. So those were always their ends. So yes, I agree with you on Russia. I'm not as sure about China. The war industry in the United States is a self-perpetuating machine because it's about making money. That's a huge part in the expansion of NATO beyond the borders of a unified Germany, coupled with hubris and of a unipolar world, but also billions of dollars in arms sales. As soon as the war in Afghanistan ended, you saw the stocks of Raytheon and these big arms manufacturers plummet. And then they got Ukraine, and so they rocketed back up. The genocide in Gaza is very good for business. It's just been military fiasco after military fiasco, whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Ukraine, I would put on the list, Gaza. So yeah, my question is how Trump will react to the heavy pressure within the war industry to ratchet up a confrontation with China. I don't know, but I think you're right. I think on Russia, he has a policy that is far saner than anyone embraced by the Democratic Party and the Biden administration.
On China, he's made a half-decent start. No, he saved TikTok, which continues to tick and talk. He called President Xi. He plans on meeting him soon. I mean, it's only a start, but it's not a bad one, is it?
No, but the pressure within the war planners, Trump is. There are powerful institutions, starting with the CIA, that Trump is going to have a very difficult time controlling or bending to his will. So yes, I think you're right. He's. I mean, that is the one benefit of Trump. He didn't start any wars during the 4 years he was president. I mean, the war party is really at this point the Democratic Party. There's far more opposition to perpetual war within the Republican Party than in the Democratic Party, which has kind of flipped the traditional roles of the two parties.
It's a useful segue into my last question, and I'm grateful for your time. He said on the eve of the inauguration, he was going to open the files, not just the oldest one, the JFK, but the RFK, the MLK, and the Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think he means it?
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to tell with Trump. He's very good at playing to the crowd and what the crowd wants, whether the crowd gets what they want. I mean, remember, his entire administration is now filled with this coterie of obscenely rich, these billionaires who bought up all the boutique mansions in Washington. Of course, the tip of the spear is Elon Musk. So, I think his populism is a kind of faux populism. Remember, he once defended Julian Assange. He didn't do much to help Julian. So I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to predict. But there's certainly he's far more in touch, and especially one saw with the Harris campaign, completely tone deaf. It was just this vapid, celebrity-driven campaign. The Democrats have essentially disintegrated. They can't even read their own public. I mean, 66%, or no, I think it's over 70% of registered Democrats want an arms embargo on Israel. It doesn't make any difference. Yeah, I don't know is the short answer. But there are serious questions. I mean, Bobby Kennedy, until he himself was assassinated, always felt that the CIA had a hand in the murder of his brother, JFK.
Quite so. I said lastly, but I can't resist it. The Democrats don't show any present sign of learning a lesson. Is there anybody coming up on the outside rail, any kind of movement in the Democratic Party, or basically are they historically redundant?
They're historically redundant, and that has been one of the most depressing aspects of the election, in that all the postmortems, all they do is seek scapegoats. There's no self-reflection, no self-criticism, no understanding of the legitimate anger on the part of the 30 million Americans who have been victims of mass layoffs since 1996. And Biden, those 4 years of the Biden administration, I wrote at the time, were our last chance to enact the kind of New Deal reforms that would save us from a figure like Trump, a cultish figure like Trump, and the rule of oligarchs. But I look at this past election as really a battle between the corporatists, who are represented by the Democratic Party, and the oligarchs represented by the Republican Party. And they have different interests. The corporatists want the decorum. They want trade deals. They want a stability because they make investments, overseas investments that take time to come to fruition. Oligarchs want chaos. They want, as Steve Bannon said, the deconstruction of the administrative state, because it's a rentier form of capitalism. It's a parasitic form of capitalism where they put up toll booths. The more things break down, the more you need private security. Your utilities are privatized. Of course, one of the big pushes they're making is to privatize the postal service here, so we can have a disastrous postal service like you do in the UK. And it's really been the triumph of oligarchic power, which is a different kind of power. That was really at its core what this election was about.
It's the end of the day, the end of the week, a very busy week for all of us. It's my favorite time. It's our intelligence community roundtable with Ray McGovern and Larry Johnson. Gentlemen, welcome here. I want to start with a clip of President Trump doing something I never thought I would see an American president do. Chris, cut number 17.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay. Give that to
He playing a dangerous game.
I praise the president for what he did, but I'm not so sure he's correct, Ray McGovern, that everything will be revealed. What are the chances that the files are still intact after all these years? So we'll start with JFK. We can talk about RFK and MLK later, but JFK is the one we want to principally focus on. What is the chance that it's still intact?
George, the first thing I need to say is
we don't need any more documents. We got them up the kazoo, as we used to say in the Bronx, okay? But these documents could be very helpful if they're unadulterated. Now, I would have to be naive to think that 60 years since 60 years, those documents still exist in the pristine, pure way that they may have existed in the beginning, and even that is doubtful. Documents have a way of lying or misleading. But there is the chance that this time Trump feels as much in command as he did not feel in his first term. And he has ordered this. And of course, JFK's nephew, RFK, has appealed for him to do this. There's no reason all these years after the assassination not to do this, despite Bill Burns saying, oh no, sources and methods would be compromised as recently as a few years ago when he became head of the CIA. So I'm looking for not only backstories, but other people to be implicated not only in the assassination, but suffice it to say, in the cover-up of the assassination. And I know that I happen to work for one of those guys. His name is Janney. Fred Janney is what he went by. He was one of my first supervisors when I came into the agency as an analyst in 1964. And his son has written a book about his father, knowing about the cover-up, which included James Angleton, Richard Helms, all the likely suspects. The cover-up, because it was indicated it was part of the murder of Mary Pinchot Meyer on the C&O towpath. And he's written this incredible book about it. I think I've advertised it before, Mary's Mosaic, and it's going to be a film if the CIA and the deep state is not able to prevent it from becoming a film.
Larry, what would you look for in these files? I mean, what do you think is there? If there was a conspiracy to assassinate him, and then a conspiracy to cover it up, and then a conspiracy to cover up the cover-up, conspirators don't usually leave tracks, do they?
Well, they might. I mean, remember, the Nazis in World War II documented everything with respect to the death camps in Poland, which they tried to destroy at the end of the war, but failed. Look, I have a buddy who has actually seen the CIA documents, and he says that there's something there. I think we'd be better advised to tell people to lower their expectations.
Right.
And I don't know what Ray's experience was when he first went into the CIA, but I remember mine was, oh my God, we're going to get to now see classified information, top secret information. It was like you're at the carnival and you're told, hey, you're going into this tent and you're going to see the bearded lady. And you get inside the tent and you find out it's just a big hairy guy that put a dress on. You're going, is that it? Also,
you remember me recounting the conversation I had with Trump, which is almost 4 years ago to the day. It was January of 21 when he called me about pardons, because I knew some of the people being pardoned. And I said, remember, you made a promise. It's not too late to keep. What? I'll do it now. The JFK file. Then he lowered his voice and said, if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't release it either. And then I said, who's they and what they show you? And he said, someday when we're together and there aren't 15 people on the phone conversation, I'll let you know. What do you think he could have been referring to, Larry?
Well, I think one possibility, Ryan Dawson's done an excellent video on this. It's an hour and a half long. It could implicate Israel at the time. Because, a month before Kennedy's assassination, Robert F. Kennedy sent a letter to the Zionist Organization of America, which is a predecessor for AIPAC, informing them that they were going to be required to register as foreign agents. They didn't like that. Kennedy was also authorizing the CIA to expand its investigation of the theft of uranium from Pennsylvania that had been used to construct Israel's first illegal nuclear weapon at Dimona. So and then there are the established ties between the Jewish mafia at the time, Meyer Lansky, and the Italian mob. who both had incentives in terms of what the Kennedys did in Cuba and Robert F. Kennedy's own campaign going after organized crime. So there's that's a possibility. I mean, the case that Ryan lays out is it's well documented. It's not, off the wall. But there's lots of people with lots of motives. We can go down, other potential conspiracies. But that's the point. Let's get the actual evidence, put it out there. Maybe it's something pretty pedestrian but embarrassing. Maybe it does directly implicate the CIA itself in having killed Kennedy.
Ray, am I naive, or would we know if documents have been destroyed?
I don't think we'd know, Judge, but I'd like to connect some dots.
Go ahead.
And when I say there's enough evidence already, if you read this book and you're not persuaded why he was killed and how he was killed, well, you just haven't read it closely enough. Why do I raise this now? Because James Douglas has just completed another book, okay? And it covers how the assassinations, not only of JFK and RFK and MLK happened, but also Malcolm X. Now, connecting dots, you remember, Judge, that 2 weeks ago, I made a big thing of MK Ultra and the incredible assembly of documents from FOIA requests that the National Security Archives has released about 6 weeks ago, completely unnoticed. Well, guess what? I hope that I'm not stealing James Douglas's thunder, but he told me 2 days ago, MK Ultra played a role in all of these assassinations. So, James has looked at this really, really carefully. I trust him implicitly. My pain is that he's not a current intelligence officer. He's a researcher. So we have to wait till the end of next year to read his book, for God's sake. So I'm going to keep trying to get him to release at least some of it now.
Larry, to think other things that are happening as we speak, is the CIA painfully aware of its failures in Ukraine and trying to burnish its image by repeating nonsense that the New York Times and the Washington Post and the President of the United States are picking up?
Yeah. Well, this is two different things. So on the one hand, the CIA is lying. We've now got irrefutable evidence that the CIA is lying to Donald Trump, that they are passing on intelligence that's derived from the government of Ukraine. And that is with respect to the number of Russian casualties, which Trump put at, yesterday he said almost 1 million, but he used the number 700,000 dead. Now, that number was used by current CIA Director Bill Burns, being quoted by David Ignatius just a week ago.
Well, he practically Burns' stenographer.
Yes, the Ignatius is the CIA stenographer, unpaid maybe, but nonetheless as a preferred journalist, so-called journalist of choice. But Burns in there is quoted as saying, yeah, our analysts assess that 700,000 Russians. So right there we know that that's what the CIA is telling Trump. And I guarantee the CIA is also telling Trump that the Russian economy is in tatters and it's on the edge. So what they have fed Trump false information. Trump has believed it. And people say, well, Trump's a fool for believing him. No, because imagine what would happen if Trump came out in public and said, no, I'm completely rejecting the CIA briefing. Well, then the CIA would be leaking. Trump's ignoring the intelligence. That's how this damn game is played. And so, but the point is right now, Trump is being misled, and he's given two sets of assumptions about Russia that are completely false. And he's going to try to use those to pressure. Now, the CIA, for its part, has launched a public relations campaign, and they've used a variety of news outlets. The most recent one was ABC, in which they're basically taking credit for, we weren't involved with Ukraine until this Ukrainian intelligence officer gave himself up to us and gave us all these secret Russian documents. And then, by God, we were all in. But then they dumped the guy. But the CIA stepped up its involvement, and they admit they admit in this ABC piece that the CIA was actively involved in planning and helping the Ukrainians carry out terrorist attacks inside Russia.
Oh.
But then this piece, it's like written by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because at the very last 3 paragraphs talk about making fun of Vladimir Putin for believing that the CIA was behind this war in Ukraine. And you're going, the entire preceding damn article was all about CIA involvement in Ukraine. Of course, Putin was right. So, but this is the CIA. They recognize the game is over, and they're basically trying to say, man, we did everything in our power. We did great work. It was wonderful. Not our fault. It's the Ukrainians' fault.
Ray, I want you to weigh in on this, but first I want to play Trump mouthing what they have fed him. Cut number 13.
President Zelensky would like to have peace. He's told me that very strongly. He'd like to have peace, but it takes 2 to tango. We'll see what happens. Anytime they want, I'll meet. I'd like to see that end. Millions of people are being killed, and they're being killed. It's a vicious situation, and they're now largely soldiers. A lot of people have been killed in the cities. They look like demolition sites. The thing with Ukraine is that many more people died than you're reporting. You're not reporting the real numbers, and I'm not blaming you for that. I'm blaming maybe our government for not wanting to release those numbers. Many more people died than what you know about.
I don't know if he knows what he's talking about.
Zelensky want peace.
Do
surrender.
you largely attribute this war, Ray McGovern, to Bill Burns?
No, Bill Burns is not strong enough to do this kind of. He's a windsock. When he heard what Biden wanted to do, he said, "Oh yeah, well, how can I help you?" Well, Bill, you said back in 2008 that this would provoke the Russians. Now that they've done it, please say it was unprovoked. Oh, it was unprovoked, Mr. Oh, is that good enough, Mr. President? You know, I have nothing but, well, I won't even say it. Now, with respect to Trump, now he's an Arschloch, okay? That's a German word for a guy who can't be depended on to tell the truth, okay? So it's really hard to figure out what he's doing here. But one conspiratorial, one sinister explanation for why Trump goes ahead with these ridiculous numbers of 700,000 or 1 million Russians killed or put out of action, okay? And this business about the Russian economy failing is because he has in mind a month from now saying, who are you guys that told me that stupid stuff? That's not the case at all. You're all fired. He's real good about that. You're all fired. So that's one possible interpretation. The big thing is the Russians are not playing this dumb stuff that Trump says. Today, breaking news, Trump said, you know, the election in Putin said, the election in 2020 was stolen from Donald Trump. And if that hadn't happened, there would be no war in Ukraine. Whoa.
Did Putin say that today?
Yeah,
Putin said that today, yeah. Now, you can't get that. You have to tune into, guess what? RT. You know,
well, that should be banner headlines in American media that Putin made a statement like that. Well, that'll certainly endure him to Donald Trump saying something like that. Wow.
That's exactly right. And that's what he's trying to do. And he's saying, in effect, I'm waiting for a call from Donald Trump. And until that happens, Putin is quite capable of ignoring all this stupid stuff that's being said,
right,
and heeding the stuff that, yeah, I want to talk. Yeah, I want to resolve this. So we'll see what happens. But certainly Putin has said some gratuitous things in support of Donald Trump. Not least of all was how strong he was in escaping that bullet and coming up and saying, you know, I'm well and I'm saved and I'm going to save the rest of you.
Well, Judge, let me just jump in, because one other thing here. So we got the public Donald Trump, his negotiating bombast. Yeah, Putin's going to do what I tell him to do. Now let's look at what Trump is actually doing. In one of his executive orders, he froze all, emphasize all, foreign aid for 90 days. That means all the foreign aid that goes to Ukraine, frozen. No more
Larry,
headed.
how long can they endure without the cash to run their government and the munitions with which to resist the Russians?
We're going to find. We're going to find. Yeah, we're going to find out, because not only is that stopped, but then Trump got rid of the U.S. military officers and their staff and the civilian contractors that were at the Pentagon managing the flow of all this aid and weaponry. That's frozen. And it's also contingent upon an audit being done. So this is actually maybe a very clever way of Trump to pull the plug on the Ukrainian operation without directly pulling the plug on it.
Larry, who is lying to Trump? Because I don't think John Ratcliffe is in office yet, although he was sworn in yesterday. Tulsi Gabbard hasn't been confirmed yet. Are these career people taking charge in the absence of a confirmed director, lying to him?
Absolutely. They were under Bill Burns' control until noon on January 20th. So those briefings that were coming in, this is actually under the Director of National Intelligence, the DNI,
right?
Because the PDB brief, as I understand it, was moved out of CIA headquarters into the DNI. So that is the province of the DNI.
Right.
They've been lying.
You're talking about the president's daily briefing will not be given to him by the director of the CIA, but by the director's nominal boss, the director of national intelligence, who, if Trump gets his way, will be Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, yeah, and which would be great. And if Tulsi's smart, she'd go down and do the brief every day. But the point in this, Judge, is that you've also got around Trump staff members, Kellogg, Sebastian Gorka, Michael Waltz, who actually believe this nonsense as well. There's not a critical thinker in the crowd that's able to say, hey, wait a second, we've got some objective open source information from people like MediaZona that show that this is just nonsense. It's a lie.
Wow. The full screen that Chris just posted, you want to put it up again, please, Chris? That's from PBS. We have to give them credit for it. And it says, in an interview, Putin echoes Trump's claim that conflict in Ukraine could have been avoided had he been in office. This is a tremendous, in my view, tremendously newsworthy statement that doesn't seem to have gotten to first base. I have to play this for you, Larry, because I thought of it when I first heard it. You're going to be angry at me. This is a person who claims he has Trump's ear. If that's true, God have mercy on us. Chris, cut number 4.
This war will never end with Hamas in charge of Gaza,
right?
Politically or militarily. Their days are numbered. And the next question for the world is, what do we do about the Iran nuclear program? That's where we're going to move to next. There's diplomacy. There's a 1 in 1 trillion chance you'll degrade the Iranian nuclear program through diplomacy. There's a 90% chance you'll degrade it through military action by Israel, supported by the United States. So the next topic I will be engaging in with President Trump is to take this moment in time to decimate the Iran nuclear program because they're so exposed.
What does that mean?
Help Israel deliver a knockout blow.
What does that mean? You're going to urge him to have Israel bomb Iran's facilities that are underground and would require U.S. military support to actually be effective?
I'm going to urge the decimation of the Iranian nuclear program. I don't think diplomacy works. This is a religious Nazi regime. They want to destroy the Jewish state. They want to purify Islam and drive us out of the Mideast. It would be like negotiating with Hitler. I am hoping there will be an effort by Israel to decimate the Iran nuclear program supported by the United States. And if we don't do that, it will be a historical mistake.
No, he's a madman, Larry, but he plays golf with the president and they get to talk with nobody else there.
Well, let's hope that on the next golf outing, Trump uses a 7-iron on him off the tee box. Okay. You know, it was just, look, I have a bold prediction to make. Before the year is out, Trump will have opened negotiations with the Iranians and will be on his way to negotiating the Trump agreement with Iran that will secure Israel's against a nuclear weapon.
Ray, on Lindsey Graham's madness.
Yeah, let me just say that there are two positive indicators here. One is that whether he forgot what he's supposed to do or whether he just decided to tell the truth on his way out, Bill Burns did say 2 weeks ago that Iran is not working on a nuclear weapon and has not worked on a nuclear weapon since 2003. That's 18 years, okay? And so there's no reason now to justify an Israeli or a U.S. attack on Iran. Now, he did say the last part, but it's logic, okay? The other thing is that there's a treaty now between Russia and Iran. It is not a mutual defense treaty, but in my view, it is everything short of that, okay? What does that mean? That means that Russia is on Iran's side. Iran is part of the BRICS. If the Israelis and a foolish Trump, which is quite in his nature, decides to support the Israelis on an attack on Iran, Israel will be in part destroyed by Iranian hypersonic missiles, and it will all be proven in the washout that there was no work on a nuclear weapon as opposed to the nuclear, fissile material, the uranium that needs to be refined to such a high degree to accommodate such a missile. So there are those two things, and I think that that in my view, the prospect of an attack on Iran, even if Netanyahu decides to go ahead and try to do it himself and mousetrap Trump in, I think Trump is pretty smart enough to avoid letting himself being mousetrapped into that kind of situation. And I dare say I think Netanyahu is aware that Trump is smart enough to do precisely that.
I got to play one more clip before we call it a week. Senator Chris Van Hollen, I probably don't agree with him on many things, but I agree with him on this. This is his interrogation of Elise Stefanik. And during the course of this interrogation, this lady is like a female Lindsey Graham. This lady acknowledges her view that God the Father gave greater Israel to the Jewish people 3,500 years ago, and that is a valid basis for their claim to geographical dominance today. You won't believe it, but here it is. Cut number 16.
I asked you in my office also about whether Palestinians have the right of self-determination. My understanding was you said yes. Do you have a different answer today?
That was not the direct question that we discussed. I said the Palestinian people.
The Palestinians have the right of self-determination.
I believe the Palestinian people deserve so much better than the failures that they've had from terrorist leadership.
It's just a pretty simple question.
And I believe we need peace in the region. Of course, they deserve human rights.
So
I want to ensure that, number one, we bring the hostages home.
So do all of us. Representative Stefanik, let me just ask you. I have 30 seconds left. I'm rarely surprised by answers in my office, but I did ask you whether you subscribe to the views of Finance Minister Smotrich.
Of who? I'm sorry,
Smotrich. This is the Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich and the former National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, who believe that Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank. And in that conversation, you told me that, yes, you shared that view. Is that your view today?
Yes.
Okay. I think when it comes to this very difficult issue, if the president is going to succeed at bringing peace and stability to the Middle East, we're going to have to look at the UN Security Council resolutions, not just the ones on Lebanon, which we should enforce, but other UN Security Council resolutions. And it's going to be very difficult to achieve that if you continue to hold the view that you just expressed, which is a view that was not held by the founders of the State of Israel, who were secular Zionists, not religious Zionists. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So we have to add another fanatic to the Mike Waltz, Sebastian Gorka, General Kellogg coterie.
Huckabee, don't forget Mike Huckabee.
All right, Huckabee the same, with whom Donald Trump surrounds himself, Larry.
Yeah, no, listen, this kind of Christian Zionism that frankly is based upon a dubious source. There's you got to recognize that portion of the Old Testament that was written by Jewish scholars who were under captivity in the Babylonian Empire, that they may have had a little incentive to slant the story in their direction. Just saying, it wasn't like God Himself sat down with a dictaphone or an iPhone and dictated the language. And so this is how ludicrous this is. There is a funny video out of this Italian woman that shows up at a home in Bath, England, knocks on the door, and basically tells the guy, "Hey, I'm taking your house over because we were here in the 13th century or whatever." So that's they were doing the equivalent of what the European Jews did to the Palestinians.
Right. Larry is de-emphasizing the role that God played in founding Town and Country Realty.
Yeah.
We all know that God is a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And in Deuteronomy 15:4, He said, "You shall have this land at your disposal." But that's only the first half of Deuteronomy 15:4. The rest is, "so that there shall be no poor among you." So even Hebrew scriptures, it's kind of a deal, like you could call it a covenant. You can have this land so that there shall be no dispossessed, poor, widows, orphans, refugees among you. How far we've come from that in the first place? If you believe God was a real estate agent and you believe Deuteronomy 15:4 can be interpreted just by the first half, well, you're not being honest with yourself. You ought to read the whole thing.
And of course, we all know the devil can quote scripture to suit his purposes. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Another great, great conversation. They go by like that. I appreciate
Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, where we bring you all the latest updates and insights that fuel the global stage. And today, we're shifting gears into a topic that's revolutionizing international economics. Buckle up as we explore the groundbreaking journey of Cuba joining the BRICS alliance, a move that's not just reshaping its economy, but redefining its place in the global race. From leveraging its strategic location to turbocharging sectors like energy and biotechnology, Cuba's membership is more than a bold statement. It's a roadmap for transformation. Let's dive into the 7 key ways this partnership is steering Cuba into uncharted economic territories. Number 7, shifting gears away from the dollar. For decades, the U.S. embargo has kept Cuba locked out of dollar-based trade, creating a bottleneck in financial growth. But now, as a BRICS ally, Cuba is bypassing that chokehold with alternative currencies like the Chinese yuan and Indian rupee. No longer shackled to dollar dependency, Cuba is cutting transaction costs, fostering direct trade, and steering toward financial freedom. This shift isn't just a win for Cuba. It's a wake-up call for the traditional financial systems dominated by the West. As Cuba integrates into the BRICS framework, it sets an example for other nations to explore alternate economic alliances. By paving a smoother road for trade agreements and financial independence, Cuba is fueling a broader shift in global economic power. Number 6, supercharging energy infrastructure. Cuba's energy sector has long stalled on outdated infrastructure, leading to frequent shortages and inefficiencies. Enter BRICS, bringing the financial horsepower and cutting-edge technology to revamp Cuba's energy systems. From solar panels to wind turbines, this alliance equips Cuba with the tools to accelerate its transition to renewable energy. With support from powerhouses like China and India, Cuba is on the brink of stabilizing its economy through sustainable energy projects. These initiatives don't just promise energy independence. They open the throttle for job creation, economic growth, and reduced reliance on imported fuel. And here's the kicker. Cuba could soon export surplus renewable energy to neighboring countries, revving up its role as a regional green energy leader. Number 5. The Mariel Port, Cuba's crown jewel. Situated at a prime crossroads of Caribbean trade routes, Cuba's Mariel Port is a diamond in the rough, and BRICS is helping polish it into a global logistics gem. With heavy investment in infrastructure upgrades, this deepwater port is set to become a central hub for goods traveling to and from the Americas. Enhanced capacity, modernized facilities, and improved logistics mean the Mariel Port won't just serve Cuba. It will anchor the island nation as a vital player in international trade. It's a bold power move that not only strengthens Cuba's economic foundation, but also amplifies its voice in global trade negotiations. With BRICS backing, the Mariel Port could soon be a centerpiece in a reimagined supply chain, cementing Cuba's status as a regional powerhouse. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Now let's shift gears and steer towards our next point. Number 4, revving up biotechnology and healthcare. Cuba's reputation in biotechnology and healthcare is already cruising in the fast lane, but BRICS membership kicks it into overdrive. The island's expertise in vaccine development, cancer treatments, and medical training is now aligned with the resources of some of the world's most advanced economies. BRICS collaboration fuels opportunities for joint research, pharmaceutical development, and the export of medical innovations. This partnership not only accelerates Cuba's impact on global healthcare, but also cements its role as a humanitarian leader. With its biotech expertise now reaching BRICS markets, Cuba is proving that small nations can make a big difference when innovation meets opportunity. Number 3, building a resilient economy. Cuba's economy has long depended on a few industries, like tourism and agriculture, making it vulnerable to global disruptions. But with BRICS membership, the island nation is shifting gears. Free trade zones, such as the Mariel Special Development Zone, are attracting significant investments in manufacturing, logistics, and technology. These projects are not only creating jobs, but also fueling local industries, reducing Cuba's reliance on its traditional economic pillars. What's more, BRICS-backed infrastructure and digital technology projects are laying the foundation for a sustainable and self-sufficient economy. This transformation ensures Cuba is better equipped to handle global economic shifts while improving living standards for its citizens. By embracing diversification and strategic partnerships, Cuba is charting a path toward long-term economic resilience, a roadmap that other developing nations may soon follow. Number 2, driving digital transformation. Among the most exciting changes BRICS is bringing to Cuba is the leap into the digital age. With support from technological giants like China and India, Cuba is modernizing its telecommunications infrastructure. High-speed internet and enhanced digital services are becoming more accessible to citizens, integrating the nation into the global digital economy. This shift doesn't stop at connectivity. A thriving digital ecosystem is creating fertile ground for tech startups and international collaborations, turning Cuba into a Caribbean hub for technological innovation. From education and healthcare to tourism, the ripple effects of this digital revolution are improving lives across the board. BRICS collaboration is proving that even nations with limited resources can lead in regional digital transformation. Cuba is embracing this new era, not just catching up but paving its way to becoming a key player in the global tech landscape. Number 1, emerging as a geopolitical force. Cuba's inclusion in BRICS signals a tectonic shift in global geopolitics. For the first time, the island nation is positioned alongside some of the world's largest economies, amplifying its voice in international trade and diplomacy. By aligning with BRICS, Cuba is pushing back against the dominance of Western powers and contributing to the development of a multipolar world order. This new status strengthens Cuba's hand in negotiating trade deals and attracting foreign investments, empowering the nation to participate in global decision-making processes. As BRICS expands its influence, Cuba's role as a strategic partner in logistics, science, and culture will grow, reshaping alliances and fostering a more inclusive approach to global governance. The broader implications are clear. Strategic collaboration can transform a historically marginalized nation into a geopolitical powerhouse. The road ahead, Cuba's bright future with BRICS. Cuba's journey into the BRICS alliance is more than a political move. It's a transformation that spans economics, technology, and diplomacy. From breaking free of the dollar's dominance to leading green energy initiatives, the nation is forging a new path as a regional powerhouse. But what lies ahead? Will Cuba's growing influence within BRICS reshape its long-term trajectory or inspire other nations to follow suit? The possibilities are endless, and your insights matter. What do you think the future holds for Cuba in this new alliance? Let us know in the comments below.
At the center of a dramatic transformation. Recent events, including U.S. President Donald Trump's proposed 25% tariff on Mexican imports, underscore the growing tensions and challenges facing the region. These tariffs, set to take effect on February 1, 2025, are part of Trump's strategy to combat illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and economic challenges posed by globalization. While these measures are controversial, they are just one piece of a larger puzzle that involves the growing partnership between Mexico and China, a relationship that is reshaping the economic and political landscape of North America. This partnership is more than a regional development. It signals a major shift in global power dynamics and highlights Mexico's emerging role as a strategic player in the global economy. Let's explore these evolving dynamics in greater depth and analyze 8 critical reasons why this shift is shaking up the global order. Mexico's path toward economic diversification. For decades, Mexico's economy was tightly linked to the United States, driven by trade agreements like NAFTA and the USMCA. This economic dependence fostered mutual growth, but also left Mexico vulnerable to U.S. policies and economic fluctuations. Now Mexico is taking deliberate steps to reduce its reliance on the U.S. and diversify its trade relationships. China has emerged as a key partner in this effort. From 2018 to 2023, Chinese investments in Mexico totaled $2.3 billion, spanning industries such as automotive manufacturing, renewable energy, and infrastructure development. These investments give Mexico the opportunity to expand its global footprint, strengthen its domestic industries, and position itself as a more independent player on the world stage. China's strategic investments in key sectors. China's investments in Mexico are far from random. They are calculated moves designed to align with its broader global strategy. The $2.72 billion invested in Mexico's automotive sector in 2023 is a testament to China's commitment to targeting high-impact industries that promise long-term growth and influence. However, these investments are not limited to the construction of factories. They extend to the establishment of research and development, R&D centers, integration of advanced supply chains, and comprehensive workforce training programs, all of which are critical components in creating sustainable and competitive industries. By zeroing in on sectors such as electric vehicles, EVs, and renewable energy, China is positioning itself as a dominant force in industries that are pivotal to the global transition towards a greener and more technologically advanced future. The focus on EVs allows China to not only align with global trends, but also set the stage for leading innovation in this rapidly evolving market. Similarly, investments in renewable energy signal its intention to play a central role in addressing global climate challenges while simultaneously advancing its economic agenda. These initiatives are having a ripple effect on Mexico's economy, stimulating job creation, technological advancement, and infrastructure development. Beyond economic growth, these strategic moves are allowing China to solidify its foothold in North America. By investing heavily in Mexico, China can bypass tariffs and trade barriers that have historically limited its reach in the region, giving its companies a more direct path to the U.S. market. Additionally, these investments are expanding China's sphere of influence, enabling it to compete more effectively on the global stage while reshaping regional economic dynamics. In essence, China's targeted investments in Mexico represent a strategic masterstroke, combining economic opportunity, geopolitical maneuvering, and technological advancement to secure a prominent position in the industries of the future. These moves underscore its long-term vision of becoming a global leader, while reshaping the economic landscape of North America. The rise of electric vehicles, Mexico as China's gateway. The global shift toward electric vehicles is reshaping the automotive industry, and Mexico is at the forefront of this transformation. Leading Chinese automakers such as BYD and SAIC are establishing manufacturing plants in Mexico to produce EVs for the North American market. Mexico's proximity to the U.S., combined with its skilled workforce and favorable trade agreements, makes it an ideal hub for EV production. By manufacturing locally, Chinese companies can avoid tariffs, reduce shipping costs, and make their vehicles more competitive in the U.S. market. For Mexico, this partnership represents an opportunity to attract foreign investment, create jobs, and establish itself as a global leader in EV manufacturing. However, it also raises concerns about how these developments will affect domestic industries and trade relationships with the U.S. The lithium boom and resource diplomacy. Lithium, known as white gold, is critical for EV batteries and renewable energy technologies. Mexico's vast lithium reserves have made it a focal point for global competition, with China leading the charge to secure access. In 2023, Chinese energy giant JG Yang signed a 20-year LNG deal with Mexico Pacific, highlighting China's strategic interest in securing Mexico's resources. By gaining access to lithium and other critical minerals, China is solidifying its position in the EV supply chain and gaining a competitive edge in the global energy transition. However, this development poses a challenge for the U.S., which is also vying for access to these resources. If China continues to dominate Mexico's lithium supply chains, the U.S. risks falling behind in the global race for EV leadership. This intensifies the urgency for the U.S. to develop a comprehensive strategy for securing critical minerals. The Belt and Road Initiative expands to North America. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, a massive infrastructure development project aimed at connecting the world through trade and investment, has reached North America through Mexico. Investments in ports, railroads, highways, and logistics networks are modernizing Mexico's infrastructure and making it a key player in global trade. These developments are not just transforming Mexico's economy, they are also reshaping global supply chains. By integrating Mexico into its BRI framework, China is strengthening its influence in the region and reducing the U.S.'s traditional dominance in North American trade networks. U.S. policy missteps and the trust deficit. While China has taken a proactive and strategic approach to its relationship with Mexico, the U.S. has struggled to maintain its influence. Policies characterized by trade wars, tariffs, and inconsistent agreements have strained Mexico's trust in its northern neighbor. Historically, the U.S. has been seen as a reliable economic partner, offering stability and growth opportunities. However, recent missteps have created gaps that China has been quick to exploit. If the U.S. fails to rebuild trust and adapt its strategy, it risks losing Mexico as a key ally in its sphere of influence. Mexico's evolving role in global trade. Mexico's geographic location makes it a natural hub for global commerce, connecting North and South America and serving as a gateway to the U.S. market. By partnering with China, Mexico is leveraging its strategic position to emerge as a leader in global trade. This evolving role is not just about economics, it's about geopolitics. Mexico's partnership with China is reducing the U.S.'s traditional influence in the region and challenging the balance of power in North America. As these ties deepen, Mexico is transforming from a regional player into a global economic force. The human capital transformation, one of the most overlooked aspects of the Mexico-China partnership, is its transformative impact on human capital. Beyond financial investments and trade agreements, China's contributions to workforce training, education, and technology transfer are reshaping the capabilities of Mexico's labor force. By equipping workers with the skills needed to excel in high-tech industries, these efforts are laying the groundwork for a more competitive and innovative economy. This focus on human capital extends far beyond merely creating jobs. It's about fostering a sustainable, future-ready economic structure. For Mexico, this presents a unique opportunity to ascend the global value chain and establish itself as a key player in cutting-edge sectors like advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, and clean energy. By leveraging this partnership, Mexico can transition from a low-cost production hub to a leader in high-value industries, driving long-term growth and competitiveness. Additionally, the collaboration is helping to bridge critical gaps in education and training, addressing a key barrier to economic development. With targeted initiatives in vocational training, STEM education, and technology incubation, The partnership is empowering the Mexican workforce to meet the demands of the global economy. This investment in human capital is not just about economic progress. It also contributes to social mobility and a stronger, more skilled middle class. Ultimately, the Mexico-China collaboration in human capital development is not only enhancing economic resilience, but also enabling Mexico to take a proactive role in shaping the industries of the future. By prioritizing skills development and innovation, this partnership is creating a virtuous cycle of growth, competitiveness, and opportunity for generations to come. The emerging Mexico-China alliance, a new world order? At the heart of this unprecedented transformation lies a powerful and dynamic alliance between Mexico and China. This emerging relationship is not merely an economic partnership. It represents a bold and strategic redefinition of global power and influence. As the world undergoes seismic shifts in geopolitical and economic structures, the significance of this collaboration cannot be overstated. For Mexico, this partnership with China holds the promise of unprecedented economic stability. With China's vast technological advancements, access to cutting-edge innovation, and expertise in infrastructure development, Mexico is poised to accelerate its modernization efforts and strengthen its position in the global market. Beyond the immediate economic benefits, Mexico sees in China an opportunity to diversify its trade relationships and reduce its reliance on traditional partners, particularly the United States. For China, Mexico offers something equally valuable: a gateway to North America. Strategically located, Mexico is a key player in the North American Free Trade Zone, providing China with access to one of the world's most lucrative markets. Beyond geography, Mexico's increasing economic influence within the Americas makes it a critical ally in China's broader global strategy. By deepening ties with Mexico, China is not only extending its influence in the Western Hemisphere, but also reshaping the global trade landscape to suit its long-term vision. For the United States, however, this burgeoning partnership signals a clear and urgent wake-up call. The historical dominance of the U.S. in its hemisphere is no longer a given. As the Mexico-China alliance gains momentum, it underscores the need for the United States to reevaluate its approach to diplomacy, trade, and regional influence. This is not just about losing ground economically. It is about preserving its role as a leader in the Western Hemisphere. The stakes are incredibly high. This partnership is not merely about trade agreements and investment. It is about the future of North America as a cohesive economic and geopolitical region. It challenges the U.S. to adapt to new dynamics, foster stronger ties with its neighbors, and engage with emerging powers on equal terms. Failure to do so risks the United States being left behind in its own backyard. As the global economic order continues to evolve, the Mexico-China alliance serves as a reminder that the balance of power is not static. It is a dynamic, ever-shifting reality that requires nations to adapt, innovate, and collaborate in ways that reflect the complexities of the 21st century. The question now is whether the United States will rise to the challenge, or watch as the tides of history shift in favor of new alliances and opportunities. Verdict: a pivotal moment for North America. The strengthening ties between Mexico and China are reshaping the future of North America and the global economy. This is a pivotal moment that requires bold leadership, innovative strategies, and a willingness to adapt to a changing world. What do you think about this shifting alliance? Will the U.S. step up its game, or
biggest tariffs imposed by the G7 on EVs coming from China? It's a combination of fear and panic leading to extreme protectionist measures. The US and Canada have imposed a 100% tariff. In Europe, the tax can hit up to 35%. If you're a Chinese brand, you are highly discouraged from exporting to Western markets, which makes your decision tree very simple here. You can always export to other economies like Brazil, or you can find a way, a loophole, to export to Western consumers. Now, by all measures, Chinese EV brands are really winning the electric war. The cars are cheaper, they perform better, and the technology is simply superior. Now, when we think of EVs, many of us still believe Tesla is the best. Well, I can't fault you on that. Elon Musk is on the headlines every single day parading around with Trump. But let's look at the numbers here. In Q3, China's BYD overtook the revenue of Tesla. They sold $3 billion more in electric vehicles. In fact, the company delivered more than twice the amount of cars, 1.1 million vehicles to Tesla's 460,000. Now, this epic rise tells us quite a few things about the Chinese ecosystem. Just one company has enough demand to sell 1 million cars a quarter, and they have the supply chains to build and distribute the cars. Even without the US market, this is critical, even without the US market, BYD has overtaken Tesla. But just like any company, you want more. That will mean getting your cars to EU consumers and US customers tariff-free one day. But how can China do it? Well, why not buy factories in Germany? And this report is stunning. Chinese buyers are interested in buying unwanted German factories that belong to VW. And these factories are slated for closure because obviously car production there is dropping. Now, this might seem like a blow to German pride, but for China, it's simply a business decision. Now, this would be even more controversial than the takeover of US steel by Japan. If Chinese companies take over these factories, they will be able to build cars within Germany itself, and that would mean avoiding EU tariffs and selling to the common market. But another reason why China wants a presence in Europe is to export to the US. Now, we know Trump would hit the world with a universal tariff of 10%. Now, that sounds steep, but it's still nothing compared to a 100% tax on vehicles from China. So, German factories might just give that loophole, especially if Trump decides to go after Mexican factories producing Chinese cars. So, why is Volkswagen collapsing? Why are their factories about to be abandoned? It all stems from the inability to innovate. As a result, their revenue in China is collapsing fast. Overall deliveries in China have dropped by almost 10%. That's a tremendous fall. Volkswagen is competing with more than 120 competitors. They are facing both a quality and a price war. When I was growing up, the phrase German engineering was always stuck in my head. My mom drove a BM and it was a solid car 20 to 30 years back. Now, I really love taking it to school, but the world has evolved now. German companies are just too slow. The moves are far too cautious, especially when it comes to technology. The newer cars I see on the road, they are mostly Chinese now. German precision has to be replaced with speed, innovation, and risk-taking. Because playing catch-up is not a good strategy, and here's what we mean. Volkswagen's new models won't arrive until 2026. It's a new SUV, but it's in conjunction with another Chinese company, the XPeng. The Scout Traveler will be released only in 2026, and the ID Golf will be out by 2029, hopefully. Now, while German engineering continues at a snail's pace, Chinese brands are launching multiple new models every single year. And once again, the Germans are just too slow. We live in an ADHD world, guys. People swap cars faster than before. Volkswagen has a higher price tag and the existing EVs are getting outdated extremely fast. Just take BYD's lineup in 2025, for example. This year alone, they will release up to 5 new models. Now, I browsed through them and the prices are extremely attractive. These are affordable EVs. Pricing is now extremely important. People want both quality and value for their vehicles. Volkswagen doesn't just have an energy problem, it's a structural issue that encompasses all of Germany. So, will China really buy over these plants? And as we said before, it all boils down to a math equation. If China assembles their cars and uses as little energy as possible, then building in Germany might make sense. Remember, they could always export to the rest of the G7 from here. On the other hand, would it make sense for Volkswagen to sell their factories? Maybe it does indeed. According to bankers, selling the factories could recoup anywhere from 100 million to 300 million euros. It might be better to sell them to China than to just close them down. Here's the reality. If you plan to fight in a competitive market cornered by China, you need to be fast and you need to be nimble. If you can't beat them, maybe it's time to join them. But it's not only the Germans in trouble. The US or Trump just made a very terrible move, a bad decision that will give the future of EVs to China. It's even worse than Trump launching his meme coin. Trump has ordered the US to eliminate subsidies and other policies that favor electric vehicles in a country. Now, I don't think even Elon Musk predicted this. Tesla is in some bit of a trouble. Let's not forget the EV situation in the US. Because of the tariffs on China, affordable EVs are not coming into the country. Consumers have to buy more expensive variants from Tesla, Germany, and Japan. And now Trump wants to take away the subsidies. This is crazy. What do you think it would do to consumer demand? It would most definitely plunge to hell. Buyers of electric cars in the US today enjoy tax credits up to $7,500 on a new EV purchased. And if it's a used car, it will be around $4,000. Now, the tax credits also extend to home chargers and energy storage units. So the subsidies aren't only for the vehicles. Well, these tax credits could evaporate very quickly. And who's going to benefit from this? Let's just trace the incentives. Well, legacy car makers and big oil. These giants would be the biggest winners from Trump's cancellation. It's also weird from the perspective of reshoring production and trying to win the EV race against China. The Chinese EV ecosystem is already so advanced, there's simply no way to catch up unless the US commits to spend a ton of money. Now, Trump has also revoked Biden's EV target, the goal to get to half of all new vehicles sold to be EVs by 2030. Well, that's gone. Now, I understand that EVs in the US, they aren't practical for every situation. But consider what's going to happen in the next 10, 20, or 30 years. The US would give up the future of electric vehicles to China. And what comes after that as well? Well, this could save Ford and GM today, but tomorrow would be very ugly. Now, over the years, the EV subsidies have been effective in driving adoption. In 2020, only 2% of new sales were electric vehicles, but in 2023, this went above 10%. It's a good trajectory considering the US doesn't even have a robust charging network yet. But all that progress is about to be rolled back. Now, if you're a legacy car maker chasing profits, you'll want to stick to ICE vehicles. What's the point of developing EVs now that Trump is back? You simply won't.
With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
So you heard what Trump said. Now, I find it very hilarious that he said it in front of Joe Biden's face, basically ripped apart his plan and burnt it to ashes. But from an economic war perspective, this maybe isn't a good idea. Trump wants to attract industries back to the US. However, production follows the incentives. It will be hard to attract EV makers into the United States as well. The oil industry today is the focus. So US EV supply chains will get weaker while the Chinese supply chains will keep growing stronger. In July last year, China hit a historic milestone. Over 50% of all new cars sold were electric vehicles. That's 5 times the US, and China has the world's biggest car market by a huge margin. Once again, production and innovation follows the incentive. This is the key phrase here. China's EV subsidies are still around. In fact, they are increasing the amounts. So Chinese automakers would start creating better and more efficient vehicles. That's why Trump cancelling the mandate is a mistake. The gap between China and the West will continue to grow wider and wider. And another big consideration are the supply chains. If we look at who controls clean energy metals, China is leading. The majority of refining is done within the Chinese ecosystem. Nearly 60% for lithium, 90% for rare earths, and 65% for cobalt. While China doesn't directly control global production, they have big influence over it. Chile, Congo, and Indonesia, these are big economic partners with Beijing. Chinese companies are building and operating the mines. So the supply chains are controlled by the Chinese. And because Trump is taking the US inwards, companies are not incentivized to look outwards and invest overseas. This creates a very problematic situation. How can the US advance the EV industry under Trump? I don't really see a way out for this one. There's also another crisis looming. Trump is on the brink of punishing China. Now, he could impose a 10, 20, or 60%, for all we know, 100% tariff on all Chinese imports. And mark my words, Beijing will retaliate back. In December, China banned a bunch of critical minerals. This included gallium and germanium, essential minerals for the US military and semiconductor industry. Now the signs are all there. It's written in the stars that China will weaponize their supply chains. There are just so many critical imports the US needs for EVs. There's cobalt, lithium, nickel, and graphite. Between China and Russia, these two countries controls them all. So it's going to be one big ugly mess down the line. Trump has essentially traded in the future of EVs for big oil and gas. It really leaves you wondering how the US can effectively take on China. Beijing is advancing to the future of industry while Washington is taking gigantic leap backwards. Now listen to Trump complaining about the EU not buying US cars.
China's an abuser, but the European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take very much. We have a $350 billion deficit with the European Union. They treat us very, very badly. So they're going to be in for tariffs.
There's a reason why the EU is not buying American but buying Chinese. It's because of both the quality and cost. In addition, the EU wants the majority of car sales to be EVs by 2030, around 70 or 80%. If the US doesn't produce efficient EVs but China does, then there's only one supplier left in the world. So there are second-order effects to everything. The new US economy will be a very bizarre one. There will be huge winners and big losers, and the EV industry belongs to the latter. But as always, let me know what you think. Will China buy factories in Germany? And did the US really make
So what probably happened is the US government saw that we were going on red note and talking to Chinese people about their lifestyles. And then us realizing a communist freaking country is freer than we are.
Hello and welcome. I'm Carl Zhao. Welcome to the Red Note Diaries, Day 10, where I showcase interactions between American and other foreigners with Chinese people on the Chinese social media app Red Note, aka Xiaohongshu. First up, we have a Chinese cowboy saying hello to his American friends.
美国的朋友，你们好，我是来自中国的牛仔，这里是中国的德克萨斯，内蒙古。我工作生活在我的牧场，我非常喜欢牛仔文化，更喜欢自由和宁静的生活。我的牧场坐落在一个美丽的大湖边，我正在把它建成 我心目中的黄石农场。是的，黄石这部剧在中国很受年轻人欢迎，很多人认为我像其中的老杂顿。当我戴上假发，他们又说我像原住民老莫。我的马是一匹夸特马，我非常喜爱它，跟你们在北美的农场骑的马是同一个品种。感谢你们给我们培育出这么好的马种来。 这里是中国最美的地区之一，夏天这里美似天堂，非常适合旅行。这里出产和北美同样优质的肉类，我们只需要简单的一把盐就能烹饪出美味的食物。这里的原住民文化非常迷人，他们淳朴、友善、勤劳，他们在极力保留自己的文化传承。夏季他们会举办盛大的纳德慕运动会。 人们身着传统服饰，进行各种竞技比赛，比如摔跤、射箭、骑马等等。
有幸的是，我也是他们中的一份子。我是蒙古人，我在北京生活了快30年。我曾经是一名导演，在一次偶然的旅行中爱上了这片草原。后来我决定租下来一片牧场，开始我的新生活。如今我已经在这儿快2年了。我爱这里的原住民文化，我也结识了很多友善的原住民。在他们的帮助下，我开始建设牧场。我度过了严冬，熬过了寂寞。我一个人打理牧场的工作，经常自己拍摄自己的生活。闲暇之余，我喜欢骑马在牧场里巡视，那一刻是我最开心的。为了更好地保护草原的生态，这里的草原只允许少量的移动建筑存在。我为我的马制作了一间可以移动的马房，这可以让它安全地度过寒冷的冬天，躲避风雨。我已经住了2年毡房了。这种建筑是蒙古民族伟大的智慧体现，它们轻巧，冬暖夏凉，方便在游牧生活中使用。我希望能尽快改善我的居住条件。我正在修缮2间有50多年历史的木屋，它们同样是可以移动的。我希望能够解决洗澡和取暖，也会让我的生活变得更舒适一些。我的生活需要使用电力，我最近安装了太阳能和风力发电设备，不过它们只能产生少量的电。我还是需要为我的移动电源充满电，以备不时之需。我养了一些牛，在冬天的时候，我需要更多的时间照顾它。今年的牛肉价格非常低廉，我暂时还不准备扩大规模，因为饲养更多，我将会赔掉更多。总之，我非常喜欢这样的生活，虽然中间充满了艰辛和挑战，我依然乐此不疲。你在美国是怎么生活的？我非常想知道一些你的故事。我爱你。
小红书。
He was very surprised that his video garnered him tens of thousands of new American followers.
哎，这小红书破天流量砸我头上了，这太多美国朋友关注我了。
是呀，你一天都涨好几万粉丝。
是啊，而且带动了咱们中国粉丝也蜂拥的进来。哎，咱们这里边很多留言特别有意思，我给你看看。哎，你看这是来自美国的啊。德克萨斯是牛仔的故乡，我们非常喜欢你的风格。来自俄克拉荷马的问候，我喜欢你的视频。哎，这个是一个叫凯莉的美国女孩专门写来的信，她说：“你好，我来自爱达荷州，我的名字是凯莉，我喜欢你的内容。在大学里，我辅修了人类学，研究了杜卡社区。从那个时候起，我就想去蒙古旅游。你的视频看起来就像美国的乡村生活，提醒我们并没有太大不同。我们的政府影响了我们，让我们相信与我在这个应用程序上看到的相反的观点。我见过像我这样的人，我看到并经历了巨大的善意和热情，很高兴在这样一个美丽的国家有共同的兴趣。我希望有一天能够访问您的牧场。我也是骑马长大的，我看到你美丽的马让我很高兴，尤其是在雪地里看起来很雄伟。祝你健康快乐，你的新美国朋友凯莉。
挺好写。
哎，我昨天看完之后眼泪都快下来了。哎，这很多美国粉丝留言完了之后，底下带上中文翻译。好贴心哈。他说：“你好，我来自德州，但我不是牛仔，很高兴见到你。”这个是一个菲律宾的网友。他说：“我很高兴在这里见到你，亚瑟摩根。你认识亚瑟摩根谁吗？是《荒野大镖客2》这个游戏里边的这个虚构的一个角色。也是一个牛仔。这条来自美国堪萨斯州的问候，我们在这里养马，还拥有一个农场，很想了解更多关于你的牧场的信息。哎，我明天我就发一个介绍我牧场的内容。
哎，对，
好吧。看这条，说你好，我是来自德克萨斯州，但住在加利福尼亚，很高兴见到中国牛仔。完了，你看这个，他说哇，视频质量这么好，我还以为这个视频是 AI 生成的呢。说平时平台都是给吃猪食的， 终于刷到你了，这给吃细粮了是吧？这个时候太有范儿了，大伯。说我怎么成大伯了呢？
就是呀，
叫哥哥，叫哥哥才好。这边说，真的从来没有给我推送过这种高质量的视频。这也是来自美国的。喜欢你的视频，谢谢你的欢迎。中国人看起来确实是那么热情友好，很高兴与大家分享这个应用程序，就是小红书
啊，小红书。
再看这条，这是国内网友的，说外国网友来了才刷到您的账号，这么优质的视频之前不被平台推送，哎呀，配色感觉就是电影大片儿。然后这英国的这个叫巴宝莉说，我也觉得他所有的视频画面颜色感觉都像电影大片儿，太美了，一个人怎么做得出来？他们都不信这些片子是我一个人拍的。这个写的有点悲伤。他说参观您的牧场将是一个梦想，但它可能永远不会实现。不过我很高兴找到了你的账号。你看这条是针对你写的啊，说我真的很喜欢西方和传统蒙古服装的结合，在尊重过去的同时接受新事物，我一定会追随你的冒险。
小红书。
One thing Americans have noticed on Red Note is how nice the Chinese people are.
So I've been on Red Note for 10 days and I'm not leaving. I'm staying there. One of the biggest reasons is this profound fundamental difference that I have noticed between the Chinese people and the American people, especially on TikTok. There is this sense of stinginess and also defensiveness that runs rampant in American culture for some reason. And Chinese people are significantly non-judgmental. People are so open to like actual dialogue and meaningful conversation, whereas on here everyone's so defensive, everyone is so tense, everyone is like coming at each other's throats, and I'm like, I thought we were just talking. And the stinginess. Okay, I've had dozens of people messaging me on Red Note saying, you have an amazing opportunity at your hands right now, you could be making so much money, you should, do this, do that, giving me all kinds of pointers and tips and telling me to like go for it with Red Note and trying to get me on Douyin. Not really possible for me, but like cheering me on and like wishing me success, wishing that I make a lot of money. And I'm like, Americans could never. Americans hate affiliate marketing. They hate whenever you make commission. They feel like you're taking something away from them, which I have no idea why that's a thing. But they just love to see people win. And it is insanely refreshing.
One American decided to read Red Note guideline to find out why Red Note is such a welcoming environment.
Red Note is just Chinese propaganda. For who? For who? When like 98% of its users have been Chinese. It is a Chinese app for the Chinese people. It's 12 years old. This is real content coming from real people. Is it a very select community? Possibly. And as Americans, we have been told, really since childhood, that China's government does not allow people from other countries or media outside of China to reach the Chinese people. Now, they do have censorship, they do have rules around internet access, but specifically on Red Note, there are two rules that are completely acknowledging the fact that there are going to be people from other parts of the world coming on here, and to empathize with them and to be kind to them. There's a large number of users in the community, and it's normal for everyone to interact with people from different backgrounds. Different users usually form different views and opinions on the same thing due to different facts and different positions. Moreover, experience sharing is a common behavior in the community, which usually allows a certain degree of subjectivity and tendency, which is also the objective law of such content creation. If the content shared does not match your experience and views, please try to restore the sharer situation first and sympathize with his mood before commenting. And this is the other rule. The Little Red Book community is still growing and more users will pour in. They come from different regions and have different social and educational backgrounds. Even if their life experience and creative ability may be temporarily different from those of professional creators, it does not mean that they cannot contribute good ideas. It is the core value of the Little Red Book community to welcome, encourage, and tolerate the speech sharing of newcomers and ordinary people. Please don't be stingy to express your love through likes, follows, and behaviors.
here are my thoughts about Red Note after using it for 2 days. They are eating us the fuck up on that app, guys. Like, I have never seen so many beautiful people in my life. Every time I scroll, it's the Chinese version of Angelina Jolie, Nia Long, Henry Cavill, Aaron Pierre, Beyonce. I'm not exaggerating. These people are the most beautiful people I've ever seen, like as a whole, from just casually swiping. I'm like, I didn't even know, like, this is going to sound so ignorant. I didn't even know. Obviously, there's a billion Chinese people. Obviously, people are beautiful everywhere. But my mind is blown with, they are eating us up. Like, Chinese people are not coming on their app like we come on TikTok looking disheveled and crust in your eye and stink breath. They're not doing that. So kudos to y'all. Y'all are fucking gorgeous over there. 2, from yesterday to today, I have seen Americans make the effort of translating everything that we're doing with Chinese subtext. And I think that is the most beautiful thing, because 72 hours ago, not a single American was thinking about translating anything into Chinese. And now we're all translating into Chinese so our Chinese friends across the world can comprehend what we're saying and vice versa. Lastly, everything we were taught about China was propaganda, and we were brainwashed to believe that the communist state of China was just crazy mayhem. They don't have anything we have. They don't have lives. They don't have individuality. It's not fucking true. I just saw a post today of some girl. She's on a trip with some Chinese company, and they're in the mountains going skiing, and she was in the hot tub, and they were drinking champagne. And I was like, oh, it's the same shit, just in China. They have the Chinese baddies, the girls with the BBLs. Yo, it's wild. If there's anything that came out of this protest that we're doing to our own government, is the fact that we're using our voice, and the intention that they had behind banning TikTok only gave us the catalyst to actually connect with our comrades in China and see how they actually live, and then see how we're not that different as humans. I'm going to continue to scroll this app. I'm going to continue to give you guys updates about my thoughts on it. But so far, so good.
To prove that I've been building bridges across cultures, I'm going to show you how I've been raising my son. 为了证明我在给不同的文化搭建桥梁，我给大家看看我是怎么培养我的儿子的。Hey son.
Yes.
你在干嘛呀？
我在写中文字。
Okay. Can you introduce yourself in French?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Adrienne, j'ai 8 ans. Mon préféré couleur est jaune.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a scientist or an engineer.
Can you count to 10 in Spanish?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And lastly, 你父母是哪里人？
我妈妈是福建人，我爸爸是山东人。
Great, thanks. You see, it doesn't matter what language you speak. We're all the same. Stop the hate and let's all come together. Wouldn't this world be a nicer place?
关注我。小红书。
Some of you ask, what about racism in China? I found a video of a Chinese dad answering his mixed Chinese African daughter's question about why she's being called a little foreigner in her school.
爸爸，为什么好多人叫我小外国人？
因为你的眼睫毛很长，因为你的头发很卷，因为你长得像 Mission Puff 上面的模特一样，超级漂亮，所以他们叫你小外国人，对不对？没关系的，他们可以叫你小外国人。It's okay。
好呀，没关系的，爸爸。
小红书。
Many Copian about China says that Chinese people have no property rights and the government can take away their property at a moment's notice. Well, here is a house in Guangzhou where the house owner refused to sell his land to the developers, and this is what happened. This is a phenomenon in China famously known as nail houses. When the original owner of the house refused to sell, so the developers have to build around it.
Our cars are more expensive.
Okay, there's a lot of talk about cars. So let me show you some of the videos on RedNote showcasing China's new EV and new EV infrastructure.
Welcome, my American friends. Today, I will continue to show you a popular car in China. Looks like a Porsche. The price is only 1/5 of Porsche. We call it the first car for young people in China, Xiaomi Su 7. Let's get in the car. In China, we decorate our cars in the following ways. With physical buttons, aroma diffusers.
I appreciate the love.
You can choose your favorite fragrance. Small gauges. Isn't it cool? And a breathing light. It moves with the sounds. A zero gravity seat for the front passenger, a refrigerator in the car. This car has been a huge hit in China. The key also has the shape of a car. Do you think it looks like a Porsche? Retractable rear wing. Reversing instrument panel. Adjustable suspension.
Probably 10,000 too. I've seen that.
Don't you want to drive it on the track? If you want to find a song, just call 小爱同学。
小爱同学，往下滑。没问题。
That's why they don't want to let us import Chinese cars because they way cheaper than American cars. Or wipe America.
So clever, right? Who wants to have a try? Follow me.
We are on a Chinese EV road trip and we're running low on charge. So rather than charging the battery, let me show you how we're going to swap the battery. We have reached our first battery swapping station with the Neo ET7. It automatically parks itself inside of the power swap station. You can see Drew is not doing anything. The floor has just opened up underneath the ET7. It's going to lift up the car and it's going to pull the battery out of this thing. So it's lowering the battery out of our car now. So there goes the old 75 kilowatt hour pack right out. How crazy is that? And then it's going to go take a new one out from here where they have a bunch of batteries that are stored, charged up, or currently charging from other cars. And then we'll swap in the battery into ours. Here comes the new battery. It's swapping in right now. And just like that, about 3.5 minutes later, we are charged up to what SOC?
93.
93%. That's how they come. Ready to rock and roll.
Cost of living, like, are you kidding? It is so cheap to buy food there. And a house. Everybody owns a house. They realized that we were talking about our lifestyle differences. And they're like, oh shit, no, give them back TikTok. Give them back TikTok. We can't have them realize that they just think they're free. We have the illusion of choice. The United States government is a total fucking shit show. And we have been enslaved for a long time. And all it took was for them to take away TikTok for one day, 10 hours, for so many people to realize that we've been enslaved for so long. I freaking love it. Wake up, America. You are enslaved with the illusion of choice. It's been like this for a long time. With that, I'll end this by F this corrupt ass government.
Well, is it safe to travel to China, you ask?
China is not a safe place to travel to at the moment. All right, so guys, that's our video for today. This is an amazing cultural experience. You have to see this. You have to come here. These are not paid actors. These are just local people. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. And you know what to do. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content on my channel, then consider subscribing. Until I see you again, take it easy and bye for now.
That's my friend Fernando in Xinjiang, China, quote unquote, a sensitive region where he witnessed the day-to-day interactions between Uyghur people. And here's a Indian girl dancing with a Uyghur girl in Xinjiang. In fact, China is so safe. Our Mexican homies were surprised to see people leaving their keys in their scooters and live in the middle of the streets. People do with their technology.
这不是特效，也没有挂任何绳子，这是我们第一次尝试用体感控制飞剑击区。无论是上次的绿箭术，还是即将上线的载人飞剑，我们都在想尽办法用科技把武侠带。
This is not AI. This is not wire fu. They try to replicate the AI effect they saw in the Chinese martial arts dramas.
上线这次跨年晚会印象最深的就是永绝无间无尘的那段万箭归宗的 AI 效果，真的很帅。我们一直想要用航空技术去实现那一幕。这次我们除了升级飞剑的结构和强度之外，也改造了体感手套。目前的逻辑是通过每根手指的弯曲来唤醒对应编号的出现。我叫13，你以后就叫15吧。15、16、17、18、19，御剑术。我终于理解为什么武侠剧里修炼御剑术需要挺长时间了。有飞剑，有灵力，有秘籍，可我灵根太差，脑子控制不好，加上飞剑异形的结构，平衡一旦被打破，飞剑就很容易失控。在经历了无数次的翻车，大家都见怪不怪的时候，我才开始慢慢悟出了真正的御剑术。剑来！
I'm Carl Za.
Kofi, follow me.